Chapter 261. As he removed the red string from the ginseng actually began to tremble slightly in his hand. Li Changxing knew that this ginseng had already given birth to a trace of spirituality. If he didn't use it to refine pills, it might become an intelligent life form in another 1,000 or 800 years and embark on the path of cultivation. However, Li Changxing didn't feel any pity for it. Instead, he cut the ginseng in half without hesitation and threw it into the furnace. The path of cultivation was to go against the heavens and fight against the heavens. It was originally cruel and merciless, and one couldn't be soft-hearted. After throwing the ginseng into the furnace, Li Changxing bit his finger and dripped a drop of blood into the furnace. Then, he officially began to refine pills. In an instant, all the spiritual energy in the villa gathered around the furnace. The flames emitted by the burning spirit stones turned the surroundings red. For 3 whole days, Li Changxing had been refining pills. On the 4th day, the roar of a dragon and a tiger came from the villa. The lid of the pill furnace was opened, and several golden pills appeared. Li Changxing scooped all of them into his hand, then took out a porcelain bottle and placed them inside. Golden Dragon Pill. This was the lowest grade of divine pills, but with Li Changxing's current realm, it was already very difficult for him to refine it. Moreover, it was enough to support his current cultivation and allow him to step into the Xiantian realm. After removing the dregs from the furnace, Li Changxing added a pile of medicinal herbs and used half a day to refine more than 10 bright red pills. These were the life prolongation pills. The life prolongation pill was actually a very simple pill. To put it bluntly, as long as there were enough medicinal herbs, Li Changxing could refine thousands or even tens of thousands of them in a day. After storing the life prolongation pills, Li Changxing was about to go out for a breath of fresh air when he received a call from Yu Wei. "Changxing, are you free tomorrow?" "What's the matter?" Li Changxing was puzzled. Yu Wei sounded hesitant. "It's like this. I want you to accompany me back to my hometown. My great-grandfather's birthday is in a few days. My whole family is going back to celebrate his birthday. My second uncle asked me to bring you along, and I also want to take you to meet my great-grandfather." Hearing Yu Wei's words, Li Changxing nodded. "Okay, of course I have time." After hanging up the phone, he could not help but ponder. Yu Jianfeng asked Yu Wei to take him back. Obviously, he wanted to rope him in. Li Changxing could tell from the last time when she insisted on sending him back to the dormitory after dinner. As for why Yu Wei wanted him to go back with her to meet her great-grandfather, he heard last time that Yu Wei's great-grandfather was not in good health. Although he had lived for 100 years, he might pass away one day. Yu Wei and her great-grandfather were very close. She wanted to take Li Changxing back so that her great-grandfather could meet his great-grandson-in-law before he passed away. Li Changxing certainly could not refuse this kind of thing. Otherwise, Yu Wei would have regrets. After hanging up the phone with Yu Wei, Li Changxing had just walked out of the villa when he saw several unconscious figures on the ground in the courtyard. It was Zhu Dapeng and several other rich people. Li Changxing cast a spell to wake them up. He saw Zhu Dapeng looking at Li Changxing in surprise. "Mr. Li, what exactly happened?" "We entered the villa and fainted for no reason. You were just affected by the power of my array," Li Changxing said with a smile. Since losing the ginseng last time, he had set up several layers of protective arrays in the villa. As soon as ordinary people came in, they would faint under the power of the array. If a cultivator broke through the protective array set up for ordinary people, it would activate the attack array inside. As long as it was a cultivator below the innate realm, they would absolutely not be able to withstand the attack of the array. Mr. Li deserves to be called a master in the cultivation world. "You're too powerful." Zhu Dapeng had a lingering fear. Although he looked very impressed, his heart was pounding with fear. He swore that he would never dare to break into Li Changxing's courtyard casually in the future. Otherwise, he would not even know how he died. "By the way, why are you looking for me?" Li Changxing was puzzled. "We didn't have your phone number, Mr. Li, so we had to come to you in person. The location of our medicinal materials company has been chosen. It's in the most prosperous area of the Medicine King Valley. We bought a whole building there. The name of the company will be Shunnong Pharmaceutical. What do you think? Good. Li Changxing nodded. It's up to you to decide. We set the opening day of the company on the 28th of the lunar calendar, 7 days later. What do you think, Mr. Li? Good. It's also up to you to decide. Okay. They didn't expect Li Changsheng to be so easy to talk to. Suddenly, their fear of Li Changsheng was diluted a little. As the chairman of Shunnong Pharmaceutical, you must remember to attend the opening ceremony on the 28th. Okay. After sending off Zhu Dapeng and the others, Li Changxing no longer had the mood to go out for a breath of fresh air. He poured out a refined dragon tiger golden pill, swallowed it, and began to cultivate in seclusion. The next morning, Li Changxing sat cross-legged and cultivated for more than 10 hours. When he opened his eyes, a crackling sound came from his body. All the dragon tiger golden pills he refined were digested, which finally allowed him to break through to the innate realm. Before the innate realm, it was equivalent to the beginning of cultivation. Only after reaching the innate realm could one be considered a real cultivator. Li Changsheng stretched his muscles and bones. His cell phone rang. It was Yu Wei, saying that her family was ready. She asked when Li Changsheng would arrive, and they would set off as soon as he arrived. Li Changsheng asked where they were and hailed a taxi to go there. When he got out of the car, he saw Yu Jianfeng waving at him. Changsheng, you're here. Get in the car. Old Master's 100th birthday is in a few days, but we have to go back in advance and take you to meet our relatives. Even Yu Baohua, who used to dislike Li Changsheng, was full of smiles when he saw Li Changxing this time. This was also thanks to Wu Ruowang and his daughter, Wu Xiaowan. Looking at all this at this time, Yu Youwei's face was full of joy. She was very happy that Li Changsheng was accepted by her family. Everything is ready. Let's go now. Li Changsheng called Yu Jianfeng's second uncle for Yu Youwei's sake. Yu Jianfeng climbed up the ladder and completely regarded himself as an elder. Today, Yu Jianfeng drove a commercial car, so the Yu family and Li Changsheng sat in it without feeling crowded at all. By the way, Yu Wei, do you know where your hometown is? Li Changsheng asked casually after getting into the car. Changsheng, our hometown is very famous. It's not far from Qingzhou and Chuzhou. It's at the intersection of the two cities. It's called the Medicine King Valley. Isn't this name very famous? Yu Wei said with a smile. Li Changsheng couldn't help but show some surprise on his face. What a coincidence. Isn't my new medicine company in the Medicine King Valley? Plus my previous trip to the Medicine King Valley, I really have an affinity with the Medicine King Valley. Chapter 262. Yu Jianfeng was a small boss and had a personal driver. Probably because of his personality, Yu Jianfeng told the driver to drive slowly along the way. This made the originally 2-hour journey take 3 hours. However, it also gave Li Changsheng and the others time to enjoy the surrounding scenery. The roadside was shaded by willows, clear water, and green mountains. Coupled with the occasional mountain road, 1 or 2 monkeys would run out, adding a lot of fun to the journey. Because her parents were around, Yu Wei didn't dare to be too close to Li Changsheng. However, her affectionate eyes were obviously deep in the abyss of love and couldn't extricate herself. Yu Youwei's mother naturally knew her daughter better than anyone else. She couldn't help but shake her head and sigh. A grown girl can't be kept at home. However, she had a good impression of Li Changsheng. Although he wasn't handsome, he was an honest child. If her daughter married him, she wouldn't be wronged. Yu Bao's mood was really complicated. Originally, he didn't like Li Changsheng. Since the last banquet, he changed his mind. However, he still had some doubts in his heart. As long as he didn't figure out Li Changsheng's true identity, he couldn't be at ease. This time, when he went back to celebrate the old man's birthday, he also called Li Changsheng. In fact, he didn't have any intention of figuring out Li Changsheng's identity. Li Changsheng had been to Medicine King Valley once before. Last time, he came with Wu Xiaowan to look for the resurrection grass. However, after entering the Medicine King Valley, the road was different. Yu Youwei's hometown was in the village. The road was still a long time ago with many turns. The driver went from 80 kilometers per hour to less than 40 kilometers per hour. Even so, everyone still felt very bumpy. Medicine King Valley was a famous medicinal herb trading place in the north. Along the way, Li Changsheng saw medicinal herbs growing in the fields on both sides. The most common ones were astragalus, buplurum, and many more expensive herbs. As soon as they arrived at the village entrance, they saw many people waiting. Yu Jianfeng was one of the more promising members of the Yu family. Yu Youwei's grandfather had 7 sons and 5 daughters. Yu Youwei's grandfather was the 5th in the family. The ones who came out to greet them were their close relatives. 7 sons, 5 daughters, and the next generation was born, spreading the family tree. Now, there were dozens of people in the Yu family's old master's bloodline. There were cousins, and so on. Li Changsheng listened to Yu Youwei introduce them along the way, but he couldn't be bothered to sort them out. When Yu Jianfeng got out of the car, his relatives immediately surrounded him. As for Yu Youwei's family, they were obviously left out. Only a few people greeted them. The rich had distant relatives deep in the mountains, while the poor had no one to care about them in the busy city. That was probably the case. However, Yu Youwei attracted a lot of attention because of her stunning appearance. Obviously, it was the first time these juniors had seen Yu Youwei. However, when they saw Li Changsheng standing beside Yu Youwei, they were all puzzled. Yu Youwei was obviously a little timid. Her family was relatively poor, and she didn't have much status among her relatives. Moreover, it was her great-grandfather's birthday, so people from the other branches of the family were also here. Except for Yu Youwei's family, which was relatively poor, the other branches of the family were doing well. Yu Wei has already grown up. She's become a beautiful woman. A sharp voice sounded. A middle-aged woman walked over and looked Yu Youwei up and down. Her eyes were almost glowing. Yu Wei, you're going to college this year, right? When your parents came back at the beginning of the year, I saw your photo. I didn't expect you to be even prettier in real life. This woman was very noisy. When she heard others address her, Li Changsheng realized that she was Yu Youwei's aunt. She was from her great-grandfather's branch. She had been doing business in other places. Her family was quite rich, and she rarely came back. If it wasn't for her great-grandfather's birthday, Yu Youwei would have remembered such a person when she was very young. Yu Wei, the country now stipulates that you can get married in college. You're so beautiful, so there must be a lot of people chasing after you. Coincidentally, I have a nephew who is now in his 3rd year of college. His family is very rich, and he's also handsome. You two are a perfect match. The woman actually introduced Yu Youwei to a man. Yu Baohua and his wife were a little embarrassed. Li Changsheng was standing next to them. They knew about the relationship between Li Changsheng and Yu Youwei. No need. Yu Youwei hurriedly refused. What's there to be shy about? Don't look at how pretty you are. That doesn't necessarily mean you'll be able to marry someone you like. That nephew of mine is very outstanding. If you miss out on him, it'll be too late for regrets. That's right, he's also been in the Medicine King Valley recently. I'll call him over tomorrow, and you two can meet. I know, there's really no need. Yu Youwei couldn't help but glance at Li Changsheng cautiously, afraid that Li Changsheng would be angry. However, when she saw that Li Changsheng's face was normal, she heaved a sigh of relief. At this moment, Yu Youwei's aunt saw Li Changsheng standing next to them and asked curiously, His name is Li Changsheng. He's Youwei's friend. Yu Baohua hurriedly introduced. Friend? It's our Yu family's great-grandfather's birthday this time. Why did you bring an outsider here? As soon as the other party opened her mouth, everyone's face turned ugly. Her words were too rude. Around them, many people from the Yu family cast their gazes over. Because Yu Youwei was too dazzling, it was difficult not to attract attention. This auntie was famous among the 3rd generation of the Yu family for being outspoken and unkind. Relying on the fact that her family had some assets in business, she had a superior attitude and never cared about the face of others when she spoke. Yu Baohua and the others didn't know what to say. Li Changsheng took a step forward, took Yu Youwei's hand, and said, You must be Auntie. Let me introduce myself. My name is Li Changsheng, Youwei's boyfriend. As soon as he said this, the aunt was stunned. Just now, she said that she wanted to introduce a boyfriend to Yu Youwei, but it turned out that the man was right next to her. However, Her expression quickly returned to normal. She did not answer Li Changxing's question. Instead, she looked Li Changxing up and down. Adidas pants, Li Ning shoes, and half-sleeve shirt bought from Jingji family. They're all brands. She muttered a few words. Li Changxing felt that he was the new son-in-law of the Yu family this time, so he specially asked Peng Tiexin to buy a set of sportswear from outside. They were all branded. But this combination is too simple and casual. It's obvious that it has no taste. Especially this hairstyle. It's very rustic. Aunt Yu Yue curled her lips in disdain. Young man, your taste still needs to be improved. It's far worse than my nephew's. After saying that, she turned around with a snort and walked into the village. As she walked, she muttered, "Where did this country bumpkin come from? Does he think that he's rich just because he wears branded clothes? Even if he wears a dragon robe, he can't hide his rustic aura." Chapter 263. There were many relatives in the Yu family. The old master alone had 12 children, and there were dozens of people in the third and fourth generations. Because the old master was celebrating his 100th birthday, many of the village's relatives came to join the fun. For a moment, the spacious courtyard seemed a little crowded. The Yu family probably had a good bloodline. Nothing could be seen from Yu Baoguo's wrinkled old face. But when they arrived at the gate of the courtyard, they saw that the young people of the second and third generations were all handsome men and beautiful women. The men were handsome, and the women were beautiful. Of course, no matter how many beauties there were, when Yu Yue appeared with an imposing manner, the other women could only be called pretty girls from humble families. Everyone's eyes lit up. Even those who looked down on Yu Baoguo from the bottom of their hearts couldn't help but sigh. What a beautiful daughter. Yu Baoguo is really lucky. Yu You's grandfather had passed away. When he was 60 years old, he suddenly died in the field because of overwork. However, his great-grandfather was weak and sick when he was young. He went to the doctor every 2 or 3 days. When he was old, he didn't do much work because he was young and his body became strong. Finally, he survived until today. On his 100th birthday, he had many children and grandchildren. Even his great-grandson had begun to start a family. Hearing that Yu Yue was back, the old master, who had changed into a suit and looked very energetic, walked out with the help of a few young people with a walking stick. Having lived to this age, he no longer had any regrets. He had suffered all the hardships and enjoyed all the blessings. Now, he only felt that every day he lived was a day he earned. Yu Yue had been well-behaved since she was a child, and she was also one of the old master's favorite people. Yu Yue walked to the old master and called out crisply, "Great-grandfather." The old master immediately smiled, but there were only a few teeth left in his mouth. "This is my boyfriend, your great-grandson-in-law, Li Changxing." Yu Yue introduced him to the old master. The old master was old, but his eyesight was still very good. He was not short-sighted at all. He looked up and down at Li Changxing. Good. Our Yue has also grown up. Young man, you are handsome. You will take care of Yue in the future. The old master said with a smile. Many people around could not help but roll their eyes. If Li Changxing was said to be honest and reliable, no one would have any objections. But to say that he was a talented person would be a bit of a lie. But who asked old master to love the house and its crow? The old master had a very high prestige in the Yu family, and no one would be so insensible as to correct the old master's choice of words. There was a young man standing beside the old master. He looked to be about 27 or 28 years old. He was dressed in sportswear and had an imposing aura. Li Changxing didn't know the brand of the watch on his wrist, but it was definitely not cheap. This young man couldn't be considered handsome, but when he stood there, he gave off the feeling of a crane standing among chickens. He stood out from the crowd of Yu Clan's fourth-generation youths, and everyone noticed him with a single glance. It was one of Yu You's cousins. Yu Yue was the only grandson in Yu You's family. He had been doting on him since he was a child, and he lived up to the expectations of the elders. He had excellent grades since he was a child, and he went abroad to study at the age of 18. Now, he had his own company. It could be said that he was one of the most successful people in Yu Clan's fourth generation. When Li Changsheng noticed him, the other party also glanced at Li Changsheng's cheek without leaving a trace, and then looked at Yu Wei. Yu Wei is back. Hello, brother Liang Wei. Yu Wei greeted him sweetly, with a hint of coquettishness. Yu Liang Wei had played with Yu Wei since he was a child, and the two of them were very close. I haven't seen you for a few years. Yu Wei is getting more and more beautiful. Yu Liang Wei showed a sincere look of joy. But when he saw Li Changsheng, who was standing next to Yu Wei, holding her hand, his eyes couldn't help but reveal a hint of darkness. The return of Yu Wei's family didn't cause much of a stir. If it weren't for Yu Jianfeng, perhaps no one would have come out to welcome them. There were still 3 days before Yu Wei's birthday. Everyone walked into the house. Although it was a village, the decoration of the house was very luxurious. There were so many children in Yu clan, and many of them were successful. Building a beautiful house for Yu Wei was not a big deal at all. Rows of cars were parked at the gate of the courtyard. The cheapest ones were Ruehu Chang'an, which cost 50 to 60,000 yuan. There were also many medium-sized Accords and Passats, among which there were several BMW 5 Series, Audi A6, and so on. These were all children of Yu clan who had successful careers outside. There was a very cool BMW Z4, which was Yu Liang Wei's car according to the discussion of several young people. Li Changsheng could roughly judge what level the Yu clan was at as a whole from these cars. For example, Yu Jianfeng should be one of the better ones in Yu clan. These cars were all parked at the gate of the courtyard. Li Changsheng saw a silver-gray Bentley in the courtyard. It seems that Brother Yicheng is back too, Yu Wei said when he saw the car. Yu Liang Wei nodded with a hint of envy in his eyes. Yes, Brother Yicheng's company is getting bigger and bigger now. It is a star company in the entire Medicine King Valley. However, he is also quite busy with his business. As soon as he came back in the morning, he received a call and was picked up by someone. Yu Wei, Brother Yicheng was still talking about you at that time. He said that he hasn't seen you for a few years and doesn't know what you look like. He also said that he wanted to introduce you to someone. The other party is his business partner. He is young and promising. Although he is 7 or 8 years older than you, he is now worth 10 billion yuan. If you marry him, your parents won't have to suffer anymore, and you won't have to work hard to get into a university. When he said this, Yu Liang Wei had been paying attention to Li Changsheng's expression. Obviously, he was saying this for Li Changsheng to hear. Although Li Changsheng was wearing branded clothes today, in his eyes, it was really tasteless. Red sleeves and green sneakers. There was an old saying here, red and green are better than dog shit. It was used to describe a person who had no taste. In fact, Li Changsheng couldn't be blamed. He had asked Peng Tiexin to help him buy this set of clothes. Peng Tiexin was a rough man and didn't know how to match clothes. He felt that since Li Changsheng was going to Yu Wei's hometown, he naturally had to make him look good. Therefore, he only bought clothes with bright colors. The only thing he didn't do was to make Li Changsheng a cuckold. In Yu Liang Wei's opinion, Li Changsheng looked ordinary and had no taste. Obviously, he didn't look like the son of a rich family. With Yu Wei's appearance, she was even more beautiful than those glamorous stars on TV. She could totally marry into a rich family. If Yu Wei married well, she might be of some help to his career in the future. After all, he had the best relationship with Yu Wei since he was young. However, he couldn't be blamed for being snobbish. He had been running his own company for a few years. As a businessman, he valued profits. It was inevitable that his way of thinking would be subtly influenced. Moreover, even if it wasn't for his own benefit, but purely for Yu Wei, in his opinion, Li Changsheng wasn't a good match. Chapter 264. Today was the day when almost all the members of the Yu family were present. Several tables were set up in the yard and famous cooks were specially invited to cook for them. There were also game hunted from the mountains on the table, which was very rich. In such a big family, they naturally couldn't sit randomly. According to the seniority, Yu Baogua, Yu Jianfeng, and 7 or 8 middle-aged men sat at the same table. Yu Wei's mother sat at the side. According to the old rules, women were not allowed to sit at the table. However, it was a new era now, and this small village kept pace with the times, so they didn't pay much attention to it. Li Changsheng and Yu Wei sat at the table near the door. They were all young people. Among them, Yu Wei sat at the main seat. They were all children of the fourth generation of the Yu family. Only Li Changsheng was an outsider. Everyone already knew who Li Changsheng was without further introduction. During the banquet, Yu Wei took the initiative to add more dishes for Li Changsheng several times, which made Yu Liangwei, who originally looked down on Li Changsheng, look even worse. The meal went by peacefully. After the meal, the elders were talking inside, while the younger generation seemed to have nothing to do. Although they were a family, they didn't see each other often. Most of their memories were from their childhood. At first, they were a little strange, but soon became familiar with each other. Sister Wei, you're only in your third year of high school, and you dare to bring your boyfriend home. When did my uncle become so open-minded? A girl about the same age as Yu Wei looked at Li Changsheng while talking. She was Yu Jianfeng's daughter and returned home a few days in advance. She was 1 year younger than Yu Wei. Her name was Yu Cici, and she had a good relationship with Yu Wei. Yu Jianfeng also had a son, but he couldn't come back because the school organized a competition recently. Hearing Yu Cici's words, everyone immediately turned the topic to Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng, what's your major? What does your family do? Are your grades good? How did you get Yu Wei? The young people all talked at once, especially the girls. Li Changsheng didn't know how to answer and could only remain silent. However, his silence was clearly a sign of inferiority in the eyes of many people. It's boring to stay in the village. Why don't we go to Medicine King Valley to play? Seeing that she couldn't get any information from Li Changsheng, Yu Cici proposed to go out for some entertainment. Sure, why don't we go to the roller skating rink? One of the younger boys suggested. However, Yu Liangwei smacked him on the head. You, no wonder you're not good at your studies. Every day, you go to those messy places to fool around. Hearing Yu Liangwei's words, the boy stuck out his tongue. Why don't we go karaoke? Yu Cici suggested. She was on the radio station in school and was very good at singing. She wanted to show off her singing skills in front of everyone. Singing is boring. Why don't we go to a bar? Another man wearing glasses said, Little Hui, there are still minors here. Don't lead your little brothers and sisters astray. Yu Liangwei could not help but glare at the man. At this moment, a Mercedes-Benz stopped at the door. A man in his 30s walked in. He was wearing a suit and had a very strong aura. What's wrong? You don't know where to go to play? Why don't I take you to find some excitement? As soon as the man appeared, the younger generation immediately showed a look of respect. Even Yu Liangwei couldn't help but stand up. Brother Cheng. Seeing the person who came, Yu Wei went up to greet him. Yu Wei, you really changed 18 times between childhood and womanhood. I haven't seen you for only a few years, and you've become prettier. Yu Cheng touched Yu Wei's head and walked towards the crowd. Hello, Brother Cheng. Brother Cheng, you're back from the city? Brother Cheng, that Mercedes-Benz is a Maybach, right? I've seen it on the internet. It costs a few million. Yu Cheng was the most outstanding person in the fourth generation of the Yu family. At the young age of 30, he started his own company and was worth tens of billions. Even the older generation was polite to him. Who is this? When Yu Cheng saw Li Changsheng, there was some doubt on his face. Although there were many younger brothers and sisters in the family, and most of them had not seen each other for many years, no matter how much they had changed, he could still recognize whose children they were. However, he was sure that he had never seen Li Changsheng before. He's Li Changsheng, my boyfriend. Yu Wei happily introduced him to Yu Cheng with a smile. Is that so? Yu Wei has found a boyfriend? Yu Cheng smiled, but there was obviously a different look in his eyes. Brother Cheng, you said just now that you're taking us to find some excitement. Where are we going? Don't tell me you're treating us to a spa. The bespectacled man said, half-jokingly. I want to take you there, but I'm afraid that your father will break your leg when we come back. Yu Cheng had no intention of getting to know Li Changsheng. Instead, he said to his younger brothers and sisters, a new drift field opened in the Medicine King Valley. It's opened by my brother. Everyone has seen Initial D, right? I'll take you there today to broaden your horizons. Really? When everyone heard that Yu Cheng was going to take them to drift, they all became excited. Yu Yicheng waved to the Mercedes-Benz, and a young man about his age walked down from it. He was his driver. "Take 4 people in the car and help me send them to the drift field." As he spoke, he opened the door of his Bentley. "My car can still seat 4 people. Who wants to come?" "Me." UCC was the first to raise her hand and said, "I also want to sit in Brother Yicheng's Bentley." Soon, the Bentley was full of people. At this time, Yu Liangwei also opened the door of his BMW Z4. 2 more young men opened the doors respectively. The younger generation was almost all seated, and there were only a few left. "I'll go get the key from Uncle Jianfeng. His business car can still seat a lot of people," a young man said. Soon, he took out the key, and the rest of the people walked to the business car. However, when the business car was full, they found that Li Changsheng could not get in. "It's full. What should we do?" Yu Yongwei said, but there was a hint of gloating in his eyes. He already disliked Li Changsheng. Now that he saw Li Changsheng standing there alone, awkwardly, he felt extremely happy. The other young men of the Yu family looked on coldly. In their view, Li Changsheng was just an outsider after all. "It doesn't matter if we go or not. Since the car can't seat, you guys go and have fun. I'll accompany Changsheng to walk around the village." Yu Yue had already sat in the car, but at this time, he walked down and walked to Li Changsheng's side. "Changsheng, the scenery in our village is beautiful. When I was young, I often caught loaches in the river over there. I'll take you to walk around later." Hearing that Yu Yue also wanted to stay, Yu Liangwei looked at Yu Yicheng with an inquiring gaze. "What's wrong?" Yu Yicheng had already sat in the car, but at this time, he opened the door and walked down. After understanding the situation, he could not help but frown. It did not matter if the others went or not, but only Yu Yue had to go. He knew that Yu Yue was coming back and had already told his business partner in advance. Originally, he wanted to introduce Yu Yue to the other party, but now Yu Yue had a boyfriend. However, in his view, Li Changsheng was nothing to worry about. It was just the first awakening of love in high school, and he was blinded by his feelings. When the heat subsided, it would naturally be left unsettled. It was also a good opportunity to let Li Changsheng see the elegance of his business partner, so that he could understand the gap between him and the other party and retreat in the face of difficulties. Thinking of this, he could not help but look at the 13-year-old boy in the car and said, "Xiao Ning, why are you, a child, joining the fun? Come down, you don't have to go." When the little boy heard this, his mouth suddenly twitched, and he almost cried out. Tears welled up in his eyes, but he did not dare to disobey Yu Yicheng's order. Among the younger generation, Yu Yicheng had absolute authority. "Okay, now you can sit down. Let's go." Yu Yicheng looked coldly at Li Changsheng and walked to his Bentley again. Chapter 265. The drifting field was located in the suburbs of Medicine King Valley. The field was very large. When Yu Yicheng arrived with a few people, the manager personally came out to greet them. He gave them enough face, which made the juniors of the Yu family envious. At the same age, Yu Yicheng had already reached a height that they could only look up to. "How much does it cost to drift here?" Yu Yicheng looked at the manager who accompanied them all the way. "According to the market price, it's 1,000 yuan per hour. However, people who haven't been specially trained can't directly start drifting. They need our coaches to guide them. The coach's price is 2,000 yuan per hour. So, it'll be 3,000 yuan per hour for each person at the beginning." Hearing the manager's words, the few people were secretly shocked. 3,000 yuan was already a month's salary for these young people from ordinary families. There were more than a dozen people in the 4th generation of the Yu family who came today. It added up to 30,000 to 40,000 yuan, which was not a small amount. "Brother Yicheng, the price is so expensive. I think we shouldn't play." A man began to back out. His family was similar to Yu Youei's family, so he couldn't afford to spend this money. "It's okay. Since I'm bringing you to play, the cost will naturally be on my account." At this time, the manager shook his head and said, "Mr. Yu, you and our President Song are good friends. President Song has already called and told us that you can play here for free. Your President Song is too polite." Yu Yicheng smiled at the manager. The few people from the Yu family next to him were elated. They admired Yu Yiqing's connections very much. Yu Yiqing was a person with a net worth of tens of billions. Tens of thousands of yuan was not a small amount for ordinary Yu family members, but for him, it was just the cost of a few meals. Li Changsheng saw that there were already many people playing. Each of them was assigned a personal coach to teach them how to drift. There were a few people under the age of 18 who couldn't play according to the rules. Yu Yiqing let them go to the entertainment room next door to play billiards. The coach for Yu Wei was a blonde woman of mixed race. She had a very hot body and looked quite exotic. She spoke very standard Chinese. Originally, they had sent a coach to Li Changsheng, but Li Changsheng refused because he didn't want to play. This made the coach's face turn ugly. He could earn quite a lot of commission for teaching a student for an hour. Li Changsheng didn't let him earn this money, so he naturally didn't have a good impression of Li Changsheng. Yu Wei was eager to give it a try, so Li Changsheng accompanied her practice. Yu Wei sat in the driver's seat while he sat in the back. The blonde woman was said to have won several international racing championships and was especially proficient in drifting. She explained to Yu Wei for about 20 minutes. She said that she needed to go to the restroom and asked Yu Wei to wait for her. Then, she got out of the car and left. After listening for a long time, Yu Wei barely knew how to operate the car. However, she was a timid girl and had never driven a car before, so she could only drive the car like a snail. Not to mention drifting, she didn't even dare to drive at 40 miles per hour. Li Changsheng looked at Yu Wei's cautious look and couldn't help but chuckle. He opened the car door and sat in the front passenger seat. He said to Yu Wei, "Don't be afraid. Step on the accelerator hard and put the gear up. Then try drifting." Yu Wei was puzzled. Changsheng will also know how to drift. Li Changsheng shook his head. "I didn't know before, but I understood after listening to that Asian girl." Hearing Li Changsheng call the coach an Asian girl, Yu Wei couldn't help but chuckle. Then, she didn't doubt Li Changsheng's ability at all. She followed Li Changsheng's instructions and stepped on the accelerator. The car directly sped out. If not for the saying that women in love were blind, it was not a lie at all. At this moment, Yu Wei had unconditional trust in Li Changsheng. However, because of this trust, she didn't have any fear in her heart. Instead, she drove the car steadily. Just as Li Changsheng was about to teach Yu Wei how to drift, the blonde girl who came out of the bathroom screamed when she saw the car drive out. "Oh my God, what are you doing? Stop!" Seeing the flustered coach from the rear-view mirror, Yu Wei slammed on the brakes and stopped the car. If it wasn't for the seatbelt, her head would have hit the glass and bled. However, Li Changsheng didn't show the slightest bit of panic when he saw Yu Wei's emergency reaction. He helped Yu Wei pull on the handbrake. Seeing that she was at ease, he patted her back. Strangely enough, after the frightening scene just now, Yu Wei calmed down in an instant. At this moment, the blonde girl walked over angrily. She didn't care about Yu Wei's identity and shouted, "What are you doing? You want to run without even learning how to walk? Do you know how dangerous it was just now?" As she spoke, she saw Li Changsheng in the passenger seat and frowned. "Why are you sitting here? I taught her how to drift." Li Changsheng smiled. The blonde girl was stunned. She was puzzled and asked, "Are you a racer too? Have you raced before?" Unexpectedly, Li Changsheng shook his head. "No, it's my first time. After listening to you, I don't think it's difficult." "What?" The blonde girl suddenly flew into a rage. "You're not even an amateur racer. How dare you teach someone how to drift? Do you know that someone will die? Oh my God, did you get kicked in the head by a donkey?" The blonde girl's voice was very loud. Soon, everyone in the Yu family noticed what was going on and gathered around. When they heard that Li Changsheng was teaching Yu Wei how to drift, many of them showed strange expressions. Yu Yiqing also walked over and asked, "What's going on?" The blonde girl knew the relationship between Yu Yiqing and the boss. Only then did she realize that she had lost her composure. However, she still couldn't hide the anger in her heart. She told the whole story. Yu Yiqing coldly glared at Li Changsheng. "I really don't know what my sister sees in you. This is simply nonsense." Meanwhile, the youths of the Yu clan were all gloating. Yu Wei was the most beautiful girl in the family, but she found such an ordinary boyfriend like Li Changsheng. They all felt that Yu Wei was not worth it. Seeing that Li Changsheng was defeated, they were all secretly happy. No, I really know how to drift. If it weren't for this blonde girl's yelling, Yu Wei wouldn't have suddenly stepped on the emergency brake. Li Changsheng said. The blonde girl's eyes were about to spit fire. You did something wrong and you blame me. You put the blame on me. If it weren't for the fact that you were brought here by Boss Yu, I really want to slap you. The blonde girl had a hot body and a fiery temper. All right. Everyone, stop arguing. Yu Yangwei stood up and resolved this farce. He looked at Yu Wei with some concern. Yu Wei, are you okay? I'm fine. Yu Wei smiled. You are really a silly child. You believe everything others say. He didn't even learn how to drift before he dared to teach you. You actually dare to listen to him. I believe in longevity. Yu Wei said seriously. Alas. Yu Yangwei sighed and took a deep look at Li Changsheng. He thought, I don't know what kind of magic potion this kid gave his sister. Chapter 266. Next, Yu Wei learned how to drive. Li Changsheng sat on the chair beside her. The blonde girl was disgusted with him and looked as if she could not live under the same sky with him. The two of them sat in the car awkwardly. In everyone's eyes, Li Changsheng was simply too unreliable. He had never touched a car before, yet he dared to teach Yu Wei how to drift. However, Li Changsheng knew in his heart that he really knew how to drift. As a dignified Xiantian realm cultivator, his comprehension and control ability were incomparable to ordinary people. The reason why he did not get in the car and demonstrate when he was questioned by everyone was that he was already past the age where he could not help but show off his skills. Other than Yu Wei, the others could already drift on the field after more than half an hour of training. In the end, only Yu Wei's car was left. It moved slowly on the field at a moderate speed. After the car circled the field once, Yu Wei was obviously very nervous. She stopped the car and exhaled. Li Changsheng handed a cup of milk tea he had bought from the VIP room to Yu Wei. You've been practicing for so long. Drink a cup of water. Yu Wei took it with a smile. In her opinion, someone handing her a cup of milk tea after she had practiced for a while was the greatest happiness. However, just as she inserted the straw into the cup, a car suddenly roared. When it passed by Yu Wei, it suddenly braked. Then, dust and the smell of burnt tires wafted over. Yu Wei could not help but frown. She saw a young man roll down the car window and stick his head out. He whistled at Yu Wei and said, Beauty, do you want me to take you for a ride? Seeing the cup of milk tea in her hand fly into the dust, Yu Wei's face immediately turned cold. She said angrily, Get lost. The boy didn't get angry. He just laughed and stepped on the accelerator. The car roared forward and continued to practice his driving skills on the practice field. Yu Wei angrily looked at the departing car and saw a layer of dust on the milk tea cup in her hand. Although her clothes were dirty, she didn't care. However, this milk tea was bought for her by Li Changsheng, which made her feel a little wronged. Li Changsheng looked coldly at the blonde coach. Who is this person? He already knows how to drift, so why is he still on the practice field? The golden-haired woman already had a problem with Li Changsheng, so she just snorted coldly. He is the young master of the Guo family, the famous playboy of the Valley of the Medicine Masters. I advise you not to provoke him. What bullshit, young master. If he pisses me off, I'll beat him up until even his mother can't recognize him. The golden-haired woman only thought that Li Changsheng was boasting in anger and curled her lips in disdain. However, she didn't continue to add fuel to the fire when Li Changsheng was angry. Forget it, Changsheng. There's no need to argue with him. Yu Wei knew Li Changsheng's strength, but after all, a strong dragon can't defeat a snake in its own territory. This was the Valley of the Medicine Masters. She was afraid that Li Changsheng would be at a disadvantage if he got into a conflict with the other party. Li Changsheng smiled and didn't say anything else. Because Yu Wei had already mastered the basics of driving, the golden-haired coach let her practice by herself. She sat on a chair on the side of the field and rested. Li Changsheng saw that the golden-haired woman wasn't in the car, so he sat in the front passenger seat. This time, he didn't instruct Yu Wei to practice drifting. He didn't want the golden-haired woman to yell again. At this time, Yu Wei was driving slowly in third gear on the practice field. When the car was halfway there was a sudden roar from behind. Then, a car suddenly made a sharp turn and overtook Yu Wei's car. Then, the car braked and stopped in front of her. It was obviously provocative. Yu Wei, who was driving, was shocked by the sudden situation. She slammed on the brakes, and the car automatically turned off. Even though she was wearing a seatbelt, her body was thrown forward by the huge inertia. The bottle of mineral water in the car fell to the ground with a plop. "Are you okay?" Li Changsheng hurriedly looked at Yu Wei. Yu Wei shook her head, but her eyes were shining with tears. Li Changsheng looked at her and found that the phone in her pocket had just flown out. The screen was shattered into a spider web. This was the phone that Li Changsheng had bought for Yu Wei. Yu Wei had always treasured it. She didn't expect it to be broken. At this moment, the head of the car in front of them stuck out and made a contemptuous gesture at Li Changsheng. Once again, he ignited the fire and left. "It's just a phone. Don't be sad, Yu Wei. I'll buy you another one." Li Changsheng comforted Yu Wei. Then, he asked Yu Wei, "Do you think these guys are hateful? Should we teach them a lesson?" "Hateful," Yu Wei said bitterly. "Okay, then sit next to me. I'll drive." Yu Wei nodded. In the distance, the people of the Yu family also saw the situation here. They were angry. "How does that person drive? He's doing it on purpose. Sister Yu Wei isn't familiar with driving. She must be scared. This person is simply a hooligan." Just as everyone was feeling indignant, they saw Yu Wei get out of the car. Everyone was about to go over to see if Yu Wei was injured when they saw Li Changsheng also get out of the front passenger seat and sit in the driver's seat. At this moment, Yu Wei sat in the front passenger seat. They're swapping seats. What are they doing? Everyone was confused. The blonde coach was already shouting anxiously. "What are you doing? You can't be impulsive. We have to pay for the damaged cars here." The young men of the Yu family also thought of Li Changsheng's intention, and their faces changed drastically. "No, that guy doesn't even have a driver's license. He doesn't know how to drive at all. What if something happens?" At this moment, Yu Wei and Yu Yicheng also walked over. "This is nonsense. Make him stop the car," Yu Yicheng ordered. The young men of the Yu family were about to rush over, but they saw that the car had already started moving. The other party saw Li Changsheng get in the car, and the car in front actually stopped. When Li Changsheng's car was about to approach, he stepped on the accelerator and made a 180-degree turn. He sped to the other side of the parking lot, like a cat playing with a mouse. Even the blonde woman couldn't help but marvel at the other party's driving skills. He was definitely the king among amateurs. However, Li Changsheng's car, which had been left behind, suddenly emitted a loud roar, and the car rushed out like an arrow leaving the bow. "Oh my God, he must be crazy. He's so fast." Everyone's faces were filled with horror. Judging from the loud roar and the black smoke rising from the friction between the tires and the ground, he had probably stepped on the accelerator to the bottom. This guy doesn't even know how to drive. If he collides with the car in front at such a fast speed, the consequences will be unimaginable. Yu Yicheng could no longer maintain his composure. The person in the car was his sister. Moreover, young Master Gua's background wasn't ordinary either. Although he didn't have much of a relationship with him, if Li Changsheng got impulsively into a car and something happened to young Master Gua, the other party's family would definitely blame him. The Gua family was still very powerful in the Medicine King Valley and was definitely a local tyrant. Provoking the Gua family was very likely to affect the future development of his company. Why did Yu Wei find such a reckless guy to be her boyfriend? Yu Yicheng looked at the speeding car and knew that it was useless to be anxious at this moment. He could only secretly pray that nothing would happen. Chapter 267. In the car, Yu Wei held the armrest with his right hand and stared straight ahead. Li Changsheng stepped on the gas pedal to the maximum and quickly closed the distance between them and the car in front. Seeing Li Changsheng's car catching up from the rearview mirror, young Master Gua couldn't help but sneer. "You country bumpkin, see how I'll toy with you." There was also a young man sitting in the front passenger seat. That man said, "Young Master Gua, that guy lost his mind because of you. He won't crash into us and kill us all, right?" Young Master curled his lips in disdain. With my skills, do you think he has a chance to crash into us? Eat dirt behind us. As soon as he finished speaking, he drifted 360 degrees. A few seconds before Li Changxing's car caught up, he turned around and ran in the opposite direction. In the distance, Yu Wei let out a sigh of relief. Just now, he was really afraid that Li Changxing's car would crash into him. Once it did, it would all be over. Fortunately, young Master Gua's driving skills were good enough. The blonde girl next to him said, Young Master Gua is a frequent visitor to the drifting field. Although he's an amateur racer, he's very good at driving. Normal professional racers can't do so many tricks, so you don't have to worry about him crashing into young Master Gua's car. You should worry about that reckless guy. Don't overturn the car or crash into the fence. If that happens, the car will be destroyed and you will die. As soon as she finished speaking, Li Changxing's car suddenly braked after the other party drifted 360 degrees. Then, with a perfect drift, he changed the direction of the car and chased after the car in front. In an instant, everyone who saw this scene was dumbfounded, especially the blonde girl, who stuttered, How did he drift? The others also looked as if they had seen a ghost. Li Changxing actually knew how to drift. In the next moment, the pride on young Master Gua's face disappeared because he happened to see the car drift from behind. While he was still in shock, he saw that Li Changxing's car had caught up with him and was driving alongside him, forcing him to move to the side. Li Changxing's car was so close that Guo didn't dare to go against Li Changxing. If he wasn't careful, the car would be destroyed and he would die. But Li Changxing didn't care. When he was about to reach the edge of the road, he suddenly turned the steering wheel and cut across from the front. Guo was so scared that he quivered. The car hurriedly made a turn. With a bang, the wheels of the car squeezed against the railing next to it. The car tilted up, which scared Guo and his companions in the car and made them break out in cold sweat. Li Changxing's car also stopped in front of them. He and Yu Wei opened the door and got out. The onlookers in the distance, as well as the drifting field's security guards, hurried over. They first used a rope to pull the car and the fence to prevent the car from flipping over. Then, they rescued Guo and his friend from the car. Guo wasn't injured, but he was so scared that his face was pale. His friend didn't wear a seatbelt. His head hit the glass, and his forehead was bleeding. The medical staff waiting by the side hurriedly bandaged it. Yu Yongwei and Yu Yicheng came over. Yu Liangwei directly shouted at Li Changxing, Do you know what you're doing? You're taking Youwei's life as a joke. The other children of the Yu family looked at Li Changxing with some curiosity. Li Changxing's perfect drift and stopping Guo car just now really made them understand what was fast and furious. Yu Yicheng also looked deeply at Li Changxing, sighed, and said, You've been in the limelight, but you've also offended the Guo family's young master. You won't let this go. I hope you're a man, and take responsibility for your own actions. Don't drag us into this. Brother Yicheng, is Guo that great? At that time, he was the one who took the initiative to provoke. I think Li Changxing did the right thing. A young man from the Yu family had a good impression of Li Changxing because of Li Changxing's behavior just now. Yeah, Brother Changxing was very cool just now, and that Guo should teach him a lesson. Yu Cc also stood on Li Changxing's side. Yu Yicheng didn't say anything. He also felt relieved, but these younger brothers and sisters didn't know the power of the Guo family. Li Changxing's behavior was clearly immature in his view, and such a person didn't have the character to do big things. In his view, he was not worthy of Yu Wei. Don't worry, it's just Guo. Li Changxing said calmly. Huh, just a little? Yu Yicheng couldn't help but chuckle. Guo has hundreds of billions of yuan in wealth, and you say it's just a little. I really don't know where your confidence comes from. Yu Yicheng shook his head. Yu Liangwei, who was next to him, also interjected, You don't even care about the Guo family's hundreds of billions of yuan. Maybe in his eyes, us small bosses with hundreds of billions of yuan are nothing. Hearing Yu Liangwei's words, Li Changxing didn't say anything. He couldn't say, In my eyes, you are indeed nothing. At this time, Guo confirmed that his friend's injury was not serious. Only then did he remember Li Changxing and walked over angrily. He pointed at Li Changxing's nose and scolded, "Little brat, are you trying to King kill me?" As he said that, he raised his fist and punched Li Chongqing's cheek. Everyone from the Yu family turned their heads to the side. Guo was a good-for-nothing and was very good at fighting. In addition, he was a head taller than Li Chongqing. In everyone's view, there was a great disparity in strength between the two sides. Today, Li Chongqing must be taught a lesson. It would be good if a beating could calm Guo anger. However, after the beating, there would be other things to do. It wouldn't be over. However, before Guo fist landed, Li Chongqing grabbed his wrist, and it couldn't fall. "Let go of me." Guo didn't expect Li Chongqing's seemingly thin body to have such great strength. He raised his leg and was about to kick Li Chongqing's lower abdomen. However, before he could kick, Li Chongqing exerted force on his body, and a crisp cracking sound came from his wrist. Li Chongqing let go. Guo took a few steps back, holding his wrist with a painful expression on his face. Li Chongqing only used a little grappling technique to dislocate Guo's wrist. "You know martial arts?" Guo's face was full of fear. However, Li Chongqing didn't answer him at all. He directly kicked Guo's chest. Guo took 8 steps back and sat on the ground with a frightened expression in his eyes. As soon as he got up, Li Chongqing strode over and kicked Guo's chest with the momentum. Bang! Guo was directly kicked out, and he screamed after falling to the ground. Li Chongqing rushed up again without hesitation and stomped on Guo's head. More than 10 seconds later, Guo's face was bruised and swollen. He didn't know how many teeth had been stomped out. His eyes were full of fear, and he sobbed with tears in his eyes. He was just short of crying for his parents. It was the first time Guo was beaten up in his life. It would definitely be a psychological trauma for him for the rest of his life. The surrounding young people from a Yu family were all stunned. The blonde female coach, the security guards, and the medical staff were also dumbfounded. The culprit who had beaten young Master Guo to such a state clapped his hands in an unrestrained manner and said pretentiously, "I said that I would beat you up so badly that even your mother wouldn't be able to recognize you. I will do it. As a man, I must keep my words. I cannot go back on my words." Chapter 268. Li Chongqing actually beat up young Master Guo. Yu Yiqing's face was extremely ugly. Whether Li Chongqing lived or died had nothing to do with him. But now everyone knew that he was the one who brought Li Chongqing here. If the Guo family were to vent their anger on him because of this, Yu Yiqing's hands and feet turned cold. He looked at Li Chongqing with a gaze that couldn't wait to slap him. Of course, he could only think about it. He had seen Li Chongqing's fighting strength just now. He even dared to beat up young Master Guo. Naturally, he wasn't afraid of Yu Yiqing. This is simply a hothead. Yu Yiqing was trembling with anger. At this time, young Master Guo's companion, who had been bandaged, came over. He stared at Li Chongqing viciously and helped young Master Guo up. He said fiercely, "Brat, just you wait." After that, he supported young Master Guo and limped out of the drift field. The fight here had already alerted the manager of the drift field. The manager walked in front of Yu Yiqing and said with a bitter face, "Young Master Yu, this is bad. Your friend beat up young Master Guo. You should know young Master was power. What should we do?" "He's not my friend." Yu Yiqing hurriedly distanced himself from Li Chongqing. "It's not up to me to say whether he's your friend or not. You know young Master was power, and he's young Master Luo's man." "You mean young Master Luo Hichu of the Divine Medicine Corporation?" Hearing this name, Yu Yiqing's eyes were filled with fear. Among the young masters of the Medicine King Valley, the number one must be young Master Luo Hichu of the Luo family. He knew that the Guo family's power wasn't ordinary. He also knew that young Master Guo had always been arrogant, but he didn't expect his backer to be young Master Luo of the Divine Medicine Corporation. Young Master Guo and Luo Hichu are childhood friends. A large part of the reason why the Guo family can be where they are today is because of the Luo family's help. Beating up young Master Guo is equivalent to going against the young Master Luo. Hearing the manager's words, Yu Yiqing's face turned pale. The Guo family alone was enough to make him feel fear, and now Luo Hichu popped out. Luo was the real master of the Medicine King Valley. This hothead caused me such a big trouble. I have to think of a way to distance myself from him. Yu Yicheng silently thought in his heart. At this moment, a subordinate walked over to the manager and said, "Manager Wang, the young master of the Divine Medicine Corporation, Luo Hichu, is here. Do you want to go and welcome him?" How'd they get here so quickly? Manager Wang gave Yu Yicheng a look that said, "Good luck," and hurriedly went out to greet him. Meanwhile, Yu Yi was completely at a loss. Now that the young master of the Luo family was here, things were about to get out of hand. Not long after, the manager walked over in a hurry. He said to Yu Yicheng, "Young Master Luo, let the brat who hit people go over." Yu Yicheng's heart skipped a beat, and he asked quietly, "Manager Wang, did Mr. Luo say anything?" Manager Wang smiled bitterly and said, "Young Master Luo was very angry. Although he didn't say anything, the look in his eyes scared me. I just hope that kid is tough enough to take on everything himself and not implicate you, President Yu." "I hope so." Yu Yicheng nodded. He walked to Li Changxing's side and said coldly, "Just now you hit young Master Gua. Now young Master Gua's backer is here. You and Manager Wang go over. I hope you dare to admit what you did." "Don't worry." Li Changxing smiled slightly. "I don't care who his backer is. I'm not afraid." After that, he left with Manager Wang directly. He sneered, "What an arrogant guy. No matter who he is, he's not someone you can afford to offend." At this moment, in the VIP room, Luo Hichu was playing with a pen in his hand. Listening to the description of a young man who was with young Master Gua, his face became gloomier. Meanwhile, young Master Gua's face was swollen like a pig's head. Several of his teeth had fallen out, and he could not even speak properly. "Brother Gua, you must stand up for me." "Boo-hoo. You even practiced Taekwondo, but you were beaten up like this. However, how dare he touch my friend? I like to see if he has 3 heads and 6 arms." As soon as he finished speaking, a faint voice was heard. "I don't have 3 heads and 6 arms, but I'm afraid you can't afford to offend him." Luo Hichu heard the voice, and his face was filled with anger. He looked up and was stunned when he saw the figure who walked in. Mr. Li. After that, he came to his senses. He quickly stood up and bowed to Li Changxing. Manager Wang, who followed Li Changxing in, was stunned on the spot. "What's going on?" Li Changxing walked to the chair where Luo Hichu was sitting and sat down. He put his legs on the table and said with a smile, "Young Master Luo, you're so impressive. I heard you want to teach me a lesson." "I wouldn't dare." Luo Hichu quickly shook his head like a rattledrum. He was so scared that his legs were trembling. The last time he offended Li Changxing, he lost 100 billion. Until now, the Luo family had not recovered. Now, Li Changxing had become his nightmare. "Good. Tell your underlings to keep a low profile in the future." Li Changxing stood up from the chair and patted Luo Hichu's shoulder. He turned and walked out of the VIP room. Luo Hichu only breathed a sigh of relief after Li Changxing left. Guo Xiao and the young man were puzzled. "Brother Luo, what's going on?" Guo Xiao asked stutteringly. Luo Hichu paused for a moment before he heaved a long sigh and said, "Little Guo, I can't avenge you anymore. I can't even afford to offend Li Changxing, let alone you." Who the hell is he? Although Guo Xiao was foppish, he was not stupid. He vaguely guessed something from the scene just now. However, he was very curious about Li Changxing's identity. "Do you still remember the time when Brother Guo told you about his big mistake?" "Brother Luo, are you talking about the 100 billion? Guo Xiao's expression changed drastically. Young Master Luo admitted defeat and took out 100 billion to settle the matter. This incident had been circulating in the circle for a long time. It was rumored that it involved Nangong Jingmeng of the Nangong family and a mysterious figure, Mr. Li. He's that Mr. Li? This time, not only Guo Xiao, but also the young man and the manager widened their eyes. Who would have thought that this ordinary-looking young man turned out to be the recently famous Mr. Li? No wonder he dared to hit Guo Xiao. No wonder he dared to speak so arrogantly when he knew that young Master Luo was here. The manager suddenly came to a realization. On the other side, Guo Xiao and the young man had completely given up. They had offended Mr. Li. It was good enough that he did not take their lives. Beating them up was simply too light a punishment. At this time, Luo Hichu looked at Manager Wang and asked, "What is this Mr. Li doing in Medicine King Valley? Do you know who he came with?" "Young Master Luo. He came with Yu Yicheng of the Yu family. He seems to be the boyfriend of Yu Yicheng's sister. This time, he came to celebrate the birthday of Old Master Yu." The manager told him everything he knew. Luo Hichu's face suddenly showed a thoughtful expression. Yu Yicheng's sister is actually Mr. Li's girlfriend. Mr. Li came here specifically to celebrate the birthday of Old Master Yu. I've offended Mr. Li and have been scared witless. Perhaps this is a good opportunity to mend my relationship with Mr. Li. Thinking of this, Luo Hichu's eyes lit up and the corners of his mouth could not help but curl up. Chapter 269. When Li Changsheng came out, the youths of the Yu family were looking inside. Yu Yicheng, in particular, frowned. Although he barely maintained his calm on the surface, his clenched fists showed his nervousness at the moment. When they saw Li Changsheng come out, they immediately surrounded him. In particular, Yu Yicheng looked surprised. In his opinion, Li Changsheng would be skinned if he didn't die inside, but he seemed to have come out safe and sound. "Li Changsheng, what happened inside?" Yu Yicheng calmed down and asked. "Nothing. Young Master Luo just asked me a few words and let me leave." "It's that simple?" Yu Yicheng was puzzled. This was not the style of young Master Luo. "How complicated can it be? If you don't believe me, you can go in and ask Luo Hichu." Li Changsheng said casually, then took Yu Youwei's hand and walked outside. After the incident just now, it was meaningless for him to stay any longer. Although Yu Yicheng had doubts in his heart, he didn't dare to really ask young Master Luo. If he accidentally touched the other party's eyebrows, he would have to bear the consequences. This guy is really lucky. Could it be that young Master Luo is in a good mood and forgave him? Yu Yicheng thought that this was the only explanation, but his heart was not at ease. This young Master Luo was famous for his scheming. Even if he let Li Changsheng go on the surface, it wouldn't be good for him to play some tricks in the dark. The most important thing was not to implicate him. Li Changsheng's life and death had nothing to do with him, but if he was implicated, it would be tragic. Not good. Yu Yicheng couldn't help but slap his forehead. He said that he would arrange for his business partner to meet Yu Youwei, but he forgot about it. Now that Yu Youwei and Li Changsheng had left, it was too late to chase after them. "Wei, Brother Gao, something went wrong when I met my little sister." Yu Yicheng dialed his friend's phone. At this time, Li Changsheng and Yu Youwei took a taxi and left. Then, he accompanied Yu Youwei for a stroll around the Medicine King Valley. They waited until it was almost dark before they returned to the village where the Yu family lived. The Yu family didn't only have one large courtyard. The house in the neighboring courtyard was also very clean and could be lived in. Li Changsheng's accommodation was arranged there. At night, everyone gathered in the hall for dinner. There were much fewer people than during the day, and the hall was barely enough for everyone to sit down. Dinner hadn't started yet. The elders sat there while the juniors stood to the side, waiting for instructions. Li Changsheng and Yu Youwei walked in hand. When they saw Yu Baohua and his wife, they were a little restless. Yu Jianfeng had a complicated look in his eyes. Some of the others were gloating, while others were sneering. Great-grandfather, uncle, second uncle, third uncle. Yu Youwei came in and greeted everyone. Li Changsheng, on the other hand, only nodded slightly to the others except for the old master. This attitude immediately caused many people to be dissatisfied, and their expressions became even colder. Okay, Youwei, come a great-grandfather. The old master doted on Yu Youwei the most, so he waved his hand and said. Yu Youwei hurried over. At this time, Yu Youcheng's father, who was Yu Youwei's uncle, cleared his throat and looked at Li Changsheng. "Your name is Li Changsheng, right? I heard that you had some conflicts with someone at the drift field today, right?" Li Changsheng nodded. "That's right. Is there a problem?" "Of course there is a problem." Yu Youwei's uncle suddenly raised his voice. "Do you know who you have offended? That is the young master of the Guo family. Behind him is the #1 young master of the Medicine King Valley, Luo Hichu. Yu Yuqing has worked hard to build a career with his own ability. It is very likely that because you have offended young Master Gua and Luo Hichu, you will be suppressed by the two families. Can you bear this sin? The other party stared coldly at Li Changsheng, his eyes full of anger. Don't worry, Luo Hichu and the Gua family won't dare to pursue this matter. This matter is over. Won't dare? Ha! Yu Yuqing's father sneered. Who do you think you are? Do you think young Master Luo is afraid of you? At the same time, many people around curled their lips, obviously finding it a little funny. In a Medicine King Valley, there was nothing that young Master Luo did not dare to do. Yu Yue's boyfriend was really a newborn calf who was not afraid of the tiger. He was just a little reckless. Changsheng, is this true? Yu Baowu looked at Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng nodded. Suddenly, Yu Baowu seemed to have lost all his strength and slumped into the chair. Yu Yucheng was the pride of the Yu family. If he was suppressed because of Li Changsheng, then he would be guilty. Yu Jianfeng's face was also very ugly. He knew that Li Changsheng had some background, but he did not know how big it was. But no matter how big it was, could it be bigger than the young master of the Luo family? Moreover, Yu Yuqing's rise carried the hopes of 4 generations of the Yu family. He was regarded as the true dragon of the Yu family. If he was affected because of Li Changsheng, then he would be in trouble. Yu Yuqing's father looked coldly at Yu Baowu. Baowu, this is the good son-in-law you chose. I think he's simply a jinx. It's my fault, my fault. Yu Baowu lowered his head submissively. His status in the Yu family was low to begin with, and now he was like a servant. If Brother Yuqing's career is affected because of this guy, then he will be a sinner of the Yu family. Even if young Master Luo doesn't care about these things, a reckless person like him will sooner or later get into bigger trouble. I think he absolutely cannot be the son-in-law of the Yu family, and he is even more unsuitable for Yu Wei. Yu Yuqing's father was the representative of the 3rd generation. Now that he spoke, he immediately received the support of many people. Yes, I think so too. Yu Wei is more beautiful than a big star. She can marry any young master of a rich family. Why did she choose such a person? If you ask me, it's also the Baowu couple's fault. How old is the child? Let her fall in love. You should seize the opportunity and find such a trash. He can't do anything right, but he's good at ruining things. Yu Wei has such bad taste. Listening to the discussions of the people around them, Yu Baowu and his wife lowered their heads more and more, not daring to raise their heads at all. Yu Jianfeng wanted to defend Yu Baowu and his wife, but when he saw the scene and saw that everyone was in agreement, and then thought of how Li Changsheng had offended the young master of the Luo family, he couldn't help but sigh and didn't speak in the end. At this time, Yu Yuqing also said, "It just so happens that my business partner has seen Yu Wei's photo and told me at first glance that he likes Yu Wei. My partner has a capital of 10 billion yuan. If Yu Wei marries him, she can immediately enter the upper class and become a rich lady. Moreover, it can also improve the relationship between my partner and me and make him cooperate wholeheartedly with me. My partner's family has a lot of connections. When my company grows bigger, I can arrange positions for many brothers and sisters." Hearing Yu Yuqing's words, many people's eyes suddenly lit up. The last sentence really moved them. There were many people in the Yu family, and there were a few who were doing well, but the majority were still not doing well. If what Yu Yuqing said was true, it would be great if their children could work in Yu Yuqing's company after graduation. I think we should let Yu Wei break up with this boy. Tomorrow, let Yuqing bring his business partner here. Yu Yuqing's father made the final decision. At this time, Yu Wei suddenly stood up. "Uncle, how can your conscience be at ease when you break up a good marriage like this?" Yu Wei, in front of all the uncles, grandparents, and grandparents here, "I will not marry anyone other than Li Changsheng in this life. If anyone forces me, I will die in front of him." "Yu Wei, how dare you?" Yu Baowu said loudly. He was originally afraid of Yu Yuqing's father. When he saw that his daughter dared to talk back to him, he immediately became anxious. On the other side, Yu Yuqing's father only sneered. "Good, your wings have hardened. Brother, this is the good daughter you have taught. Yu Wei, this is your fault. How can you talk back to your uncle? Yes, this child is too outrageous. How did Bao teach her? Does he have any manners at all? Yu Yoqing's family had high prestige in the family, and the relatives were basically on his side. Even if there were a few who were on Yu Yuwei's side, they did not dare to speak up for Yu Yuwei. Suddenly, there were all kinds of voices of criticism in the hall. It was noisy and chaotic. All right, cough, cough. Old Master Yu's fingers trembled as he grabbed his walking stick and stood up shakily. Tomorrow is my birthday banquet. Do you want to anger me to death today? Old Master Yu was old, but he was not muddle-headed at all. He loved Yu Yuwei the most, and naturally did not want Yu Yuwei to be wronged. However, in his opinion, this matter was indeed Li Chongqing's fault, so he could only say so. The moment Old Master Yu spoke, the hall fell into silence. Yu Wei, take Chongqing and leave first. Leave the rest to great-grandfather. Yu Yuwei nodded and was about to leave with Li Chongqing when Yu Yuwei's uncle said coldly, "Wait a minute." Then, he looked at Old Master Yu and bowed. "Grandfather, this kid almost harmed Yicheng. Are we just going to let this matter rest?" Old Master Yu glanced at him and said, "Didn't Yicheng introduce someone to Yu Wei? Since he said that the other party is so outstanding, let him come to my birthday banquet tomorrow and let everyone see how outstanding he is. Let Yu Wei choose. Yu Wei can choose whoever she likes. None of you can interfere." Old Master. Yu Wei was about to say something, but was stopped by Li Chongqing. Li Chongqing said, "All right, I'm curious how outstanding the other party is. It's a good opportunity to see for myself." After saying that, he pulled Yu Wei out of the room. Everyone was stunned, especially Yu Cheng, who thought smugly, "If my partner comes, Li Chongqing will be a pile of cow dung." Chapter 270. The morning of the second day. Li Chongqing walked out of the courtyard and saw that there were already rows of luxury cars parked outside. Today was the birthday banquet of Elder Yu. His relatives and friends had been busy since early in the morning. When Li Chongqing came out, none of the Yu family members who passed by him greeted him. Yesterday, everyone already knew that he had offended Yu Yicheng's family. Those who originally had a good impression of him also stayed at a respectful distance. Yu Yuwei brought breakfast to Li Chongqing. The whole family had already eaten. They didn't care whether Li Chongqing, an outsider, would be hungry or not. Only Yu Yuwei was still thinking about Li Chongqing. Yu Jianfeng just happened to pass by the door. He originally wanted to come up and greet Li Chongqing, but in the end he sighed, gritted his teeth, and left. If it wasn't for his son wanting to enter Qingzhou University and needing Li Chongqing's connections, he would have already ignored this arrogant kid. In his opinion, Li Chongqing was indeed not a good match. The birthday banquet officially began at noon. Before the banquet began, the Yu family members stood in groups of 3 to 5 and talked. It was obvious that the same family was divided into several circles. There was a circle with power and influence, a circle with ordinary family background, and then another circle with poor family background. Li Chongqing stood there alone. Whether it was the rich or the poor, they all seemed to deliberately exclude him, appearing to be out of tune with the scene. The birthday banquet was about to begin, and everyone began to take their seats. Li Chongqing still sat at the same table as the younger generation of the Yu family, but it seemed that no one was willing to sit with him. In the end, it was still Yu Liangwei who sat next to Li Chongqing. As for Yu Yicheng, he was there to accompany the elders. As the number 1 person of the 4th generation, even those elders were trying their best to curry favor with him. Li Chongqing, I really don't know who gave you the courage to sit here today. You offended young Master Luo, and it's very likely that it will affect Brother Yicheng's career. Brother Yicheng is already magnanimous enough not to settle the score with you. What's more, Brother Yicheng's business partner is coming today. He's a billionaire, and he's 8 streets ahead of you. Yesterday, I asked Uncle Bao's opinion, and he actually doesn't approve of you and Yu Wei being together. I think you'd better give up early to avoid embarrassing yourself. Yu Liangwei tried his best to persuade him. Although he seemed to have good intentions, every word he said was filled with contempt and disdain for Li Chongqing. So what if he's a billionaire? Even if it's 100 billion, I don't care. Yu Wei and I are sincere. Sincere? Yu Yongwei smiled coldly. What kind of society is it now? Sincerity is only worth a few yuan per caddy. After saying so much, seeing that Li Changsheng was unmoved, he couldn't help but feel a little angry. At this moment, there was a sudden uproar. A girl from the Yu family shouted, "It's so cool!" They turned their heads and saw a blue Maserati parked in the direction of the entrance. Its cool appearance and domineering appearance attracted the attention of many young people. This sports car costs a few million yuan. It's the car of Yicheng's partner. Yu Yicheng's father showed off to the surrounding relatives. Although the relatives didn't understand what was so good about this flat-toed, they couldn't help but be surprised when they heard that it was worth a few million yuan. The car door opened and a handsome man in a suit came out. The other car door was also opened and a middle-aged man in his 40s came out. After seeing the car, Yu Yicheng went up to it. "Young Master Lu, coming quickly." Yu Yicheng went up and held the other party's hand tightly. There was a hint of flattery in his words. Then, Yu Yicheng whispered a few words in young Master Lu's ear. Young Master Lu immediately looked in the direction of Yu Yuwei. When he saw Yu Yuwei's face, there was a hint of amazement in his eyes. Young Master Lu walked in under Yu Yicheng's lead. He first went up to greet the old master. "Great-grandfather, I pay my respects to you," young Master Lu said. The old master nodded. Many of the surrounding relatives couldn't help but praise. Young Master Lu is handsome and polite. He's much better than Li Changsheng. Yes, he's a good match for Yue. Yu Yuwei's face was a little ugly. No matter how handsome he was or how good his sports car was, how could he compare to Li Changsheng in her eyes? "Yue, I think this young Master Lu is good." Yu Bao was said to Yu Yuwei. He already regretted bringing Li Changsheng here today. If he hadn't brought Li Changsheng here, Yue might have directly taken a fancy to this young Master Lu. Once they met, it would be countless times better than the human world. "I wish you a long life, old Master Yu. Live another 100 years. The middle-aged man next to young Master Lu said with a smile. Everyone looked at young Master Lu. They didn't know the identity of this middle-aged man, so it was not appropriate to address him. "This is Mr. Yang, the chairman of Jinhua Pharmaceutical." Hearing young Master Lu's introduction, Yu Yicheng's face immediately showed a respectful expression. "So it's Mr. Yang. Jinhua Pharmaceutical can be ranked in the top 20 industries in Medicine King Valley. Mr. Yang, you're worth hundreds of billions." Yu Yicheng's words were meant for the people around him to hear. Sure enough, the relatives all looked shocked. They didn't know anything about general wealth, but when it came to money, they immediately knew how important the other party was in their hearts. Hundreds of billions. How much is that on the ground? A middle-aged woman in her 40s exclaimed, "Yes, I didn't expect such a person to be invited to the old master's birthday. This is all thanks to Yicheng. Look at Yicheng's network. This is the pride of our Yu family." Yicheng's partner, young Master Lu, seems to be more powerful than Yicheng. If Yue marries him, in addition to Yicheng's true dragon, our Yu family will have another golden phoenix. It seems that Li Changsheng is not worthy of Yue at all. Many people looked in the direction of Li Changsheng. Yu Yongwei, in particular, had a playful look in his eyes. He wanted to see Li Changsheng's expression. However, he was soon disappointed. Li Changsheng was playing with his phone as if nothing had happened, as if he didn't care about this man who was so powerful that he could be called a love rival. "He's really thick-skinned." Yu Yongwei snorted coldly. Many people who looked over couldn't help but shake their heads. "I'm afraid he's ashamed of his inferiority and doesn't dare to raise his head. He's pretending to play with his phone to divert attention. I think he shouldn't have come to the birthday banquet today. He's clearly asking to be humiliated." The few young people who were originally dissatisfied with Yu Yicheng's insistence on introducing Yu Yue to a partner couldn't help but change their minds at this moment. In fact, this young Master Lu was much more outstanding than Li Changsheng. "Hurry up and take your seats." Seeing that it was almost 12 o'clock, everyone began to take their seats. Young Master Lu originally wanted to sit with Yu Yicheng at the fourth generation's table. Many people wanted to see Li Changsheng's performance after he sat at this table. However, Yu Yicheng's father asked him to stay at their table. It was somewhat inappropriate for young Master Lu to squeeze with the younger generation. Because no one could talk to young Master Lu, Yu Yiqing also stayed at that table. Although many people who were waiting to watch a good show were a little disappointed, it also reflected the gap between Li Changsheng and the other party. At the same age, he could already talk and laugh with the elders, while Li Changsheng seemed to be overshadowed even among the younger generation. At this moment, a silver-gray BMW stopped at the door outside. The door opened, and a young man with a sandbag wrapped around his face walked out. Young Master Gua? Why is he here? Many people exclaimed. Even Yu Yiqing's face turned ugly. Li Changsheng hit young Master Gua at the drift field. Could it be that he's here to seek revenge now? It's over. Today's birthday banquet will be ruined because of him. I hope this Li Changsheng can take responsibility for what he did and not implicate our Yu family. Many people's eyes were filled with worry. Young Master Yu and the middle-aged man had obviously heard about what happened at the drift field. At this moment, cold smiles appeared on their faces. Although Yu Yiqing was worried that the Yu family's birthday banquet would be affected, he hoped even more that Li Changsheng would be taught a lesson. There was a hint of schadenfreude in his eyes. The originally noisy courtyard instantly became so quiet that one could hear a pin drop. It fell into absolute silence. All eyes were focused on Li Changsheng. He thought to himself, young Master Gua is here to seek revenge. Let's see what he can do. Chapter 271. Oh no, something bad is going to happen at the birthday banquet. Everyone in the Yu family was shocked. Yu Yongwei glared at Li Changsheng fiercely. Look, it's all your fault. Now young Master Gua is here. What should we do? Young Master Gua walked into the yard, looked around the crowd, and walked directly to Li Changsheng. Young Master Gua is here for Li Changsheng. I hope he won't get us into trouble. Those who were sitting beside Li Changsheng hurriedly pulled their chairs away and kept a distance from him. Even Yu Yongwei stood up and looked at Li Changsheng with pity in his eyes. Young Master Gua walked to Li Changsheng's side and immediately put on a flattering expression. He bowed and cupped his hands. Mr. Li, so you are here. I'm here to apologize to you. Everyone's eyes widened. Hearing this, they felt somewhat baffled. It turned out that young Master Gua was so scared that he couldn't sleep after knowing Li Changsheng's identity yesterday. Today, he came to apologize to Li Changsheng. What are you doing here? Didn't I teach you a lesson yesterday? Li Changsheng snorted. Young Master Gua was so scared that he trembled. Mr. Li, please don't misunderstand. I'm here to apologize to you today. As he spoke, he knelt on the ground in front of everyone and kowtowed to Li Changsheng. Young Master Gua, what's going on? Yu Yongwei stammered. However, young Master Gua didn't pay any attention to him. His eyes were fixed on Li Changsheng. Enough, Li Changsheng said indifferently. Yesterday's incident is over. Keep your eyes open in the future. Mr. Xie. Mr. Xie. Young Master Gua stood up from the ground as if he had been pardoned. He wiped the cold sweat on his head and looked respectful. Those who didn't know him would think that he was just a waiter beside Li Changsheng. Mr. Li, as an apology, I specially brought a 500-year-old ginseng from my family collection as a gift. There's also 100 million in your bank account. The password is 123456. Please accept it. When Guo words came out, everyone present was dumbfounded and shocked. This young Master Gua actually came to apologize to Li Changsheng, and he even took out 100 million yuan. They didn't know much about the ginseng, but they knew how much 100 million was. Suddenly, everyone's eyes changed. Okay, I'll accept it. Today is Old Master Yu's birthday banquet. Understood, I understand. Young Master Gua nodded and walked towards Old Master Yu. At the same time, a subordinate behind him with a gift box. Li Changsheng nodded to himself. Although these hedonistic sons of rich parents were sometimes arrogant and overbearing, that was only towards those who were lower in status than them. In fact, they were still very smart deep down. This Guo not only came to apologize to Li Changsheng, but he also did not forget to prepare a gift for Old Lady Yu. At this moment, everyone in the courtyard was stunned. Especially Yu Yongwei, who was from a younger generation, was even more surprised. Why did young Master Guo suddenly change his attitude? What's the reason? At this moment, young Master Guo had already walked to old Master Yu's table. When he saw Yu Jianfeng sitting there, he greeted, "Brother Yu, you're here too." Yu Jianfeng hurriedly stood up. Although his family was slightly wealthy, it was still a far cry from young Master Guo's family. Moreover, young Master Guo had Luo Hichu behind him. Many people looked at Yu Jianfeng after young Master Guo greeted him. Is it because of Yu Jianfeng? I didn't expect Yu Jianfeng to be doing well in Qingzhou all these years. He has the power to make young Master Guo apologize to Li Changsheng. At first, everyone thought that Yu Jianfeng's family would be in the limelight today. However, it was obvious that Yu Jianfeng's limelight was overshadowing theirs. After young Master Guo greeted Yu Jianfeng, he walked directly to old Master Guo and took out a gift box. When he opened it, there was a pair of jade rui. It was obviously expensive. I was blind to have offended Mr. Li. Fortunately, Mr. Li is magnanimous. In the future, if the Yu family has any difficulties in Medicine King Valley, you can look for me, young Master Guo said. After saying that, he cupped his hands and left. Everyone in the Yu family was confused by young Master Guo's behavior and forgot to ask him to stay for dinner. After he left, they all came back to their senses. When did young Master Guo become so easygoing? Am I seeing things? A young man muttered. Moreover, he came to apologize to Li Changsheng. This makes me even more confused. It must be Uncle Jianfeng's credit, Yu Jianfeng said. Suddenly, everyone looked at Yu Jianfeng, waiting for his answer. Yu Jianfeng was a little surprised to be stared at by so many people. He did have some business dealings with the Guo family and had a good relationship with Guo Xiao's father. However, it was not enough to make the Guo family's hedonistic son apologize, not to mention that Guo Xiao had just knelt down in front of Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng knows the principal of Green Vine Middle School, Wu Ruowang. Wu Ruowang has students all over the world. Perhaps it's because of Wu Ruowang. Thinking of this, Yu Jianfeng calmed down and said, Changsheng knows a lot of friends. Young Master Guo probably did it because of his friends. Although this statement denied Li Changsheng's identity, it still made many people look at Li Changsheng in new light. After all, connections were also a part of strength. Could it be because of Wu Ruowang? Yu Baoguo and his wife also reacted. What Wu Ruowang? Someone asked. When they heard Yu Baoguo's explanation, everyone suddenly realized. I didn't expect this poor boy to have such connections. It seems that I have underestimated him. But even if he has such connections, young Master Guo doesn't have to take out 100 million to apologize, right? Someone questioned. Changsheng, do you really have 100 million in your bank account? Could it be that you and young Master Guo put on a show? Yes, why don't you show it to us? I happen to have a POS machine here. Check the balance and we'll know. When someone spoke, the others immediately started to heckle. I don't know if he has it or not, but he probably won't lie to me. Li Changsheng was sure that since the other party was willing to apologize, he must know his identity. He definitely wouldn't dare to fool him. Whether it's true or not, we'll know after we try. Yu Yongwei winked at a person next to him. Soon, the other party took a POS machine and inserted the card. After entering the password, a series of Arabic numbers suddenly appeared. When they saw the pile of zeros, everyone's eyes widened. It's really 100 million. Yu Yongwei said in surprise. The other relatives of the Yu family also craned their necks and looked over. It was not good for them to come over because of their status as elders. But when they heard the size of the juniors, they all showed envy. 100 million. Many of them couldn't earn so much in their lifetime. Sitting next to Yu Yicheng, his partner, young Master Lu, just snorted. Isn't it just 100 million? What's the big deal? I earn more than that in a month. Yes. How can he compare with you? Yu Yicheng hurriedly smiled. At this moment, another Mercedes-Benz car stopped at the door. When the door opened, young Master Lu's voice stopped abruptly. He stammered, Young Master Luo Hichu, why is he here? Chapter 272. Luo Hichu, the young master of the Divine Medicine Corporation, actually came. At this moment, Luo Hichu stepped out of the car, and everyone in the courtyard couldn't help but stand up. The Yu family was just a small family in the Medicine King Valley. Among the third generation, no one was more outstanding than Yu Jianfeng. The fourth generation was Yu Yicheng, and Yu Liangwei could shoulder the burden. Compared with Luo Hichu, these so-called outstanding descendants were like mice in front of an elephant. When Luo Hichu walked in, the elders of the Yu family hurriedly came out to greet him. Everyone had a look of fear on their faces. The Luo family didn't have any interaction with them. Why did they appear today? Everyone had a look of doubt in their eyes. Seeing that everyone stood up except for Li Changsheng, who was sitting there, Yu Liangwei couldn't help but have a terrible thought in his mind. The young master of the Guo family specially came to apologize to Li Changsheng. Could this young master Luo also be? Young master Luo, your presence brings light to my humble dwelling. Yu Yicheng greeted him with a smile. Behind him were the elders of the Yu family. They couldn't get a word in edgewise. Even Lu Ying, the young master of the Lu family, and President Yang of Zhenghua Medicine showed respect. So it's you, Yicheng. Why are you here? As an entrepreneur who had been in the limelight in the Medicine King Valley these years, Yu Yicheng had met Luo Hichu a few times. However, when he spoke, Yu Yicheng couldn't help but feel speechless. This was the birthday banquet of the Yu family, and the other party asked him why he was here. However, facing the famous young master of the Luo family, he didn't dare to be rash. He immediately smiled and said, "Today is my great-grandfather's 100th birthday banquet. We are about to start." So that's how it is. Luo Hichu nodded and looked around the crowd. Everyone stood up. Li Changsheng was sitting there, and his line of sight was blocked by several juniors. So Luo Hichu asked, "May I know where Mr. Li is?" "Mr. Li?" Everyone looked at each other. They thought, which Mr. Li? Among the Yu family sons-in-law, there were also a few surnamed Li. On the other side, young Master Lu and Manager Yang of Zhenghua Medicine also looked surprised. They said to Yu Boyong, Yu Yicheng's father, "Uncle Yu, it seems that your Yu family is really full of hidden talents. There are many capable people. I wonder which one of you is Mr. Li? You actually made young Master Luo come to visit you personally." Yu Boyong was also confused. After thinking about it, he could only think of his second brother-in-law, Secretary Li, who was an official in the city. It was just that his second brother-in-law didn't have much power. Logically speaking, as the young master of the Luo family, there was no need to please him. However, a secretary's job belonged to a minister close to the emperor. Perhaps his second brother-in-law had curried favor with some big shot. Yu Boyong was not the only one who thought so. The other relatives of the Yu family also looked at a middle-aged man in the crowd. The middle-aged man was bald and wore a suit. He was chubby and smiled like a Maitreya Buddha, giving people a sense of familiarity. At this moment, he was also puzzled. However, he believed that other than himself, no one else in the Yu family had this kind of face. He straightened his clothes and was about to go forward. Second brother-in-law is in the limelight this time. Even the young master of the Luo family wants to visit him personally. It seems like he's going to make a great leap and have a meteoric rise. I didn't expect our Yu family's luck to change. First, there was Yu Jianfeng, then there was Yu Liangwei and Yu Yicheng. Now, second brother-in-law also has the signs of a dragon rising. He has to go and fix the ancestral grave. It must be the blessing of the ancestors. Second brother-in-law, you're really good at hiding things. You didn't even tell us that you're going to be promoted. Yu Boyong, who had always been a man of his word in the family because of his son, was now more respectful to his second brother-in-law. "No need. We're all family. Why are you being so polite?" Secretary Li chuckled, but there was a hint of pride in his eyes. The people around also looked at them with envy. The Yu family had many poor relatives. They were envious when they saw that they were either rich or wealthy. Second brother-in-law is in the limelight today. A few juniors sitting beside Li Changsheng were also envious. Among them, Secretary Li's son, Li Ningning, who was about to go to the drift field but was chased out of the car by Yu Yicheng, couldn't help but raise his head and puff out his chest. When he was chased out of the car, he cried. Now that he saw that his father was so proud, he didn't know how to hide his emotions. Really, Brother I Ching was also wrong. Ningning wanted to go to the drift field with us. At most, he could have driven another car. But we went to the drift field and left him alone in the village. Yes, the attitude of the few young people toward Li Ningning changed immediately. Yu Yangwei looked at Li Changsheng. If it weren't for an outsider, Brother I Ching wouldn't have made such a decision. Sure enough, as soon as he said that, the child and everyone else looked at Li Changsheng. In an instant, Li Changsheng seemed to be isolated by the whole world. Yu Yangwei provoked everyone's hostility toward Li Changsheng with just a few words, especially Li Ningning, whose eyes were even more unfriendly. A cold smile involuntarily appeared on his face. He thought to himself, this Li Changsheng still wants to marry Yu Yue. First, he offended Yu I-Ching, first uncle's family, and then he offended second uncle's family, who is about to be promoted. Won't he become a street rat, hated by everyone? The possibility of him becoming a member of the Yu family is next to none. While everyone was looking at Li Changsheng with hostility, second uncle walked up to him with a smile on his face. Mr. Luo, I don't deserve to be called Mr. Li. Just call me Xiao Li. Unexpectedly, Luo Hichu shook his head directly. I'm not looking for you. I'm looking for Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng? Who is that? The smile on second uncle's face suddenly stiffened. Everyone around was also stunned. Who is Li Changsheng? Why didn't I notice this person in this room? He's Yu Yue's boyfriend. What? It's him. In an instant, the crowd between Luo Hichu and Li Changsheng automatically parted to make a path. Yu Yangwei and a group of young people were dumbfounded. Li Ningning, who was originally holding her head high, felt like she had been hit in the head. She felt like she had fallen from heaven to hell. Tears welled up in her eyes. At this moment, Li Changsheng slowly turned his head. When he saw Li Changsheng's face, the dignified young master of the Luo family immediately walked over and flattered. I heard that Mr. Li Changsheng had come to the Medicine King Valley. Why didn't you inform Xiao Luo first, so that Xiao Luo could welcome you with a feast? Luo Hichu kept saying Xiao Luo, which made everyone around feel like they had been struck by lightning. This was the dignified young master of the Luo family. Why was he acting like a lackey? Yu Yangwei, who was next to him, was even more dumbfounded. At this moment, although Yu I-Ching was also a little confused, he immediately reacted and said, so young Master Luo is Changsheng's friend. Today is my family's old master's birthday banquet. Since young Master Luo is here, let's sit down and have a meal together. Sure, Luo Hichu nodded. I just happened to bring some gifts for old master. As he said that, he waved his hand, and a young man behind him walked in with a gift box. He respectfully presented it to old master. Then, Luo Hichu wanted to sit next to Li Changsheng, but found that the table was already full. He could not help but look at Yu Yangwei, who was sitting next to Li Changsheng, and said coldly, "Excuse me, I want to sit next to Mr. Li Changsheng." Luo Hichu was respectful to Li Changsheng, but what kind of person was Yu Yangwei? How could he take a liking to him? Yu Yangwei felt a little aggrieved, but he didn't dare offend the Luo family's young master. So, he could only stand up with a bitter face. Changing seats was nothing, but being chased out in front of so many people made his face feel hot. Chapter 273. What the hell is going on? Everyone's mind was filled with questions. Putting aside young Master Hua, even Luo Hichu, a top-notch young master, was so respectful to Li Changsheng. Even a fool would understand that Li Changsheng's identity was probably not simple. Young Master Luo, what's your relationship with Mr. Li? Yu I-Ching was the only one present who had interacted with Luo Hichu. He asked cautiously from the side. Mr. Li is a big shot. Your Yu family's ancestors must have done a good deed for him to take a fancy to your girl. Luo Hichu snorted coldly. Before coming, he had roughly understood the relationship between Li Changsheng and the Yu family. Hearing his words, Yu I-Ching's heart skipped a beat. He wanted to say something, but Luo Hichu waved his hand impatiently. Go away. I want to catch up with Mr. Li. Yu I-Ching's face turned red instantly. Lu Yin and Zhenghua Pharmaceuticals Director Yang were also looking over at them. Initially, he wanted to come over and talk to Luo Hichu. However, when he saw that Yu Yicheng was defeated, he sat down again. Li Changsheng actually knows Luo Hichu. Looks like I'm going to lose to him today. Lu Ying glanced in the direction of Yu Yuwei. There was no doubt that Yu Yuwei's appearance made his heart itch. However, he really did not dare to offend someone who even Luo Hichu was so respectful to. Yu Boyong, Yu Jianfeng, and the others also had complicated thoughts. Maybe it's also Wu Ruohuang's credit. Yu Boyong said. When he heard about Wu Ruohuang from Yu Baohua, he could not help but attribute it to this. Obviously, he had already offended Li Changsheng. Naturally, he did not want Li Changsheng to have any great power. Yeah, I also think it must be because of other reasons. Many people next to him nodded. These people had clearly expressed their opposition to Yu Yuwei and Li Changsheng. While they were talking, luxury cars appeared outside the courtyard one after another. Then middle-aged men in suits walked out one by one. That's the chairman of Cloud Valley Technology. Isn't that the boss of Jingwu Bodyguard Company, Jiang Bok? And the eldest son of the Jiang family, Jiang Yalu. I've seen him on TV before. Countless gasps of surprise rang out in the courtyard. Why are the chairman of the Wanrong Group, Zhu Dapeng, and his son, Zhu Xiaoming, here? Lu Ying and Mr. Yang of Zhenghua Group stood up immediately. Recently, a new Shenong pharmaceutical company was established in the Medicine King Valley and bought a building to be its headquarters. He also spent money to build a medical technology incubation base, which caused a lot of commotion in Medicine King Valley. Zhu Dapeng and his son Zhu Xiaoming also became well-known figures in the Medicine King's Valley in a short period of time. Why is he here? Even most of the people from the Yu family had heard of Zhu Dapeng's name. With the appearance of the father and son, as well as the group of entrepreneurs, the scene fell completely silent. A group of people rushed in. All of them were CEOs with a net worth of hundreds of billions. Their auras were powerful. The people from the Yu family looked at each other. When Luo he too appeared, Yu Yicheng could still represent the Yu family to welcome him. But for these big shots, the people from the Yu family were not qualified to talk to them at all. Zhu Dapeng and the others did not care about the expressions of the Yu family at all. Instead, they waved their hands, and a pile of congratulatory gifts was sent up. Then, they walked toward Li Changsheng's table. Mr. Li, tomorrow is the opening ceremony of our Shenong Pharmaceutical Company. As the chairman, we have many details to ask for your instructions. As these people walked over, the juniors sitting at the same table as Li Changsheng immediately stood up and gave up their seats. Without Li Changsheng's order, Zhu Dapeng and the others did not dare to sit down. At this moment, Yu Yicheng, Yu Liangwei, and everyone from the Yu family were somewhat unable to react. The chairman of Shenong Pharmaceutical Company, could it be that the boss behind the Shenong Group, who has been making a lot of noise recently and is known as the new giant in the pharmaceutical industry, is Li Changsheng? The whole courtyard was quiet for more than 10 minutes, and no one spoke. In the end, it was the old man Yu who stood up shakily and said, "To be able to trouble so many big bosses to send gifts to this old man, my Yu family is honored. Quickly set up another table for all the bosses." As soon as the voice was heard, the people from the Yu family immediately reacted. They moved the table, took the stools, and ordered the kitchen to serve another table of dishes. Everyone was busy. At the same time, the way many people looked at Li Changsheng completely changed. So many bosses had to treat him with respect. This was simply a god of wealth. Moreover, Shenong Pharmaceutical Company was known as the new giant industry of Medicine King Valley. Li Changsheng was the chairman. Then, wouldn't everyone in the Yu family be able to benefit from this? They could go to the factory and find a job as a small leader. This could bring many more benefits to everyone than Yu Yicheng's company. At this time, they no longer regarded Li Changsheng as a hindrance. Instead, there was eagerness in their eyes. However, the ones with ugly expressions were the father and son of Yu Yicheng. They had offended Li Changsheng a lot, and even wanted to break up Li Changsheng and Yu Yuwei. Could it be that they found a bunch of people to act and deceive us? I don't believe that a young boy like him would have so many big bosses rushing to worship him like a bodhisattva. Yu Liangwei couldn't help but mutter. Just now, he was chased out by Luo Hichu and felt that he had lost face. Now that he saw Li Changsheng in the limelight, he felt very unbalanced. Be careful with your words. Yu Yiqing hurriedly pulled his sleeve. Others don't know whether it's true or not. I've met Zhu Daping and young Master Luo. These people are not people our Yu family can afford to offend. The higher the circle he came into contact with, the more he understood the identity and power of these people. After saying the truth, Yu Liangwei also regretted it a little. After hearing his cousin's reminder, he subconsciously looked at Zhu Daping and the others. Zhu Daping and the others were busy reporting the company's progress to Li Changsheng and did not notice Yu Liangwei's words. However, Luo Hichu, who was sitting next to him, cast a fierce look. That look was full of threat, and Yu Liangwei could not help but tremble. Today, I've offended a big Buddha. Yu Yiqing was able to build the company to its current state at a young age. Naturally, his IQ was not bad. At this moment, he was thinking about how to deal with the aftermath. At this time, a silver Rolls-Royce slowly stopped at the door. The door opened, revealing a white and slender leg. Then, a stunning woman in a white dress and a white shirt stepped out of the car. The moment the woman stepped out, she seemed to have become the protagonist of the scene and attracted everyone's attention. Changsheng, I heard that you came to Medicine King Valley. I just happened to come here to discuss some business and came to see you. As she spoke, she asked the subordinate who followed closely behind to deliver a congratulatory gift to the old man. After greeting the old man, she leisurely walked to the chair next to Li Changsheng and sat down. Another car slowly drove over at this time. The door opened and a strong man stepped out. He muttered, "When I entered the village just now, there was a group of ducks blocking the road. I was half a step later than Mississippi." As he spoke, he walked into the courtyard and laughed loudly. "I'm Nangong Wu from the Nangong family. I wish old Master Yu happiness as great as the East Sea and longevity as long as the South Mountain." After that, he looked at Li Changsheng. "Greetings, Mr. Li. As a famous big family in the north, the Nangong family was also very famous in Medicine King Valley. Since this middle-aged man was Nangong Wu, then the miss he spoke of was naturally the famous business genius, Nangong Jingming. In an instant, everyone looked at Nangong Jingming's position and wondered what was her relationship with Li Changsheng. As for Yu Baohua and his wife, their faces showed some anxiety. Our daughter seems to have a competitor. Chapter 274. Thinking of the last time Wu Ruoang wanted to pair his daughter with Li Changsheng, coupled with the appearance of Nangong Jingming, Yu Baohua really had the urge to slap his thigh. This was a delicious cake, and he was still hesitating whether to marry his daughter to him. The other members of the Yu family were dumbfounded on the spot. The new table had been brought up. Looking at the people sitting at the table, which one of them wasn't a big shot who could make the earth tremble with a stomp of their feet? And now, they were all here for Li Changsheng. Yu Wei is really going to fly to the branch and become a phoenix this time. Many people said enviously. As for Yu Yiqing, Yu Liangwei had long been regretting it. A big shot like Li Changsheng was about to become the son-in-law of the Yu family and become their relative. If they could grab hold of him, they might be able to soar into the sky. Unfortunately, they had offended Li Changsheng before. We must find a way to ask for his forgiveness. Yu Liangwei and Yu Yiqing thought at the same time. The entire banquet began in this strange atmosphere. After that, many relatives of the Yu family came to congratulate them. Among them, there were also some who were not from the old master's line of descent. They were closer to the old master and had better relations with the Yu family. They planned to show off, but when they saw so many tycoons sitting at that table, as well as the rows of cars worth millions parked at the entrance, they immediately gave up and obediently tucked their tails between their legs. After the birthday banquet ended, Li Changsheng sent Zhu Daping and the others away and continued to stay in the small courtyard of the Yu family. Yu Yue accompanied Li Changsheng and chatted until very late before leaving. No one dared to disturb Li Changsheng, but everyone's eyes were focused on the movements in the small courtyard. I didn't expect Yue Wei's boyfriend to be a true dragon of the ninth heaven. In another courtyard, in the hall of the Yu family, Yu Boyong sighed. When a person's height reached a level that they could only look up to, they couldn't even be jealous. This was Yu Boyong's current state of mind. Yu Yiqing and Yu Liangwei also nodded. Yes, it seems that the opportunity for our Yu clan to rise has come. Uncle Baohua, I heard that you've been working at the construction site in Qingzhou. How can your body take it at such an old age? It just so happens that my company has a warehouse in Qingzhou. You could be the supervisor of that warehouse. You don't have to worry about anything. Just drink tea every day, and I'll give you 20,000 yuan a month. How about that? Yu Yiqing said. Yu Baohua couldn't believe it. What? 20,000 a month for nothing? Of course. You're my uncle, so it's our responsibility to take care of you when you're old. Hearing Yu Yiqing's words, Yu Jianfeng immediately reacted. Big brother, your family has been renting a house. This is not good. No matter where you are, you have to have your own house to be stable. How about this? I happen to have a house of 120 square meters. I will transfer the property to your name tomorrow and give it to you in the future. Hearing Yu Jianfeng's words, Yu Bao's eyes widened even more. A 120 square meter house was given to him just like that. How can I accept this? Yu Bao was about to refuse. But Yu Jianfeng interrupted. Brothers are like hands and feet. What's mine is yours. How can I watch you suffer and not help you? Although Yu Jianfeng had a good relationship with Yu Baohua, no matter how generous he would never give away a house of less than 100 square meters. Although Yu Baohua looked simple and honest, how could he not understand that it was all because of Li Changsheng's appearance? It seems that I've really picked up a rich husband. Ignoring the complicated thoughts of the people of the Yu clan, Li Changsheng had a good sleep. In the morning, after breakfast, Zhu Daping personally sent a car to pick up Li Changsheng to attend the company's opening ceremony. All the affairs of the company had been prepared. Li Changsheng was only responsible for receiving the CEOs of the major companies who came to congratulate him. There were so many people that Li Changsheng was too lazy to remember their names. He just casually greeted them and left. In the afternoon, he didn't return to Qingzhou with Yu Wei and the others. Instead, he strolled around the market in Medicine King Valley. Although it wasn't as lively as the annual medicinal herb gathering, he still received a lot of good quality medicinal herbs. Then Li Changsheng took Zhu Daping's car back to Qingzhou. First, he went back to school. Because Li Changsheng's identity was no longer a secret, except for Jiang Tao, Zhang Xiaofeng, and Yang Fan's attitude towards him was inevitably a bit more restrained. Later, Li Changsheng also felt that this kind of relationship was a bit boring. He simply lived in the villa and practiced martial arts every day. His life was quite comfortable. Last time, after refining the Golden Dragon Pill, he finally broke through to the Xiantian realm. The Xiantian realm was just a threshold for cultivators, but Li Changsheng still hadn't cultivated the first stage of the 9 revolutions of celestial demon body since his rebirth. This was his real reliance. As long as he cultivated the first stage of the indestructible celestial demon body, Li Changsheng could truly be at ease. However, if he wanted to cultivate the first stage of the 9 revolutions of celestial demon body, he would need to temper all the bones in his body. And the huge amount of spiritual energy needed for tempering was something that the villa's spirit gathering array couldn't satisfy. Unless he found a spiritual vein that was extremely rich in spiritual energy and cultivated in it, he would be able to quickly cultivate the first stage of the 9 revolutions of celestial demon body. Otherwise, he would have to rely on painstaking effort. With the current speed of gathering spiritual energy, it would probably take him 3 to 5 years to cultivate it. Li Changsheng sighed. Nowadays, spiritual energy was scarce in this world. Wanting to find a spiritual vein that could shorten his cultivation time was easier said than done. He couldn't help but shake his head. If there wasn't a spiritual vein, then those old spiritual herbs would naturally work. However, after countless generations of Gu Inghua's family, only this 5,000-year-old ginseng was passed down. Wanting to find another one was simply like looking for a needle in a haystack, unless it was one of those ancient cultivation sects in Huaxia. However, Mount Shu's sect master, Sima Chongkong, had to send disciples to buy ginseng even though his arm was broken. Even a big sect like Mount Shu couldn't find one, so the other sects didn't have much hope either. Forget it. Cultivation isn't about seeking instant benefits. I've lived for thousands of years. How could I not have the patience for this? Li Changsheng shook his head. He planned to go back to school to take a look. He hadn't gone to class for a few days. Although with his relationship with Chun Ligua, no teacher would be blind enough to find trouble with him. However, since he couldn't improve his cultivation technique for the time being, he might as well go back and relax. Just as he stood up, the phone in his pocket suddenly rang. He picked up the phone and heard a woman's angry voice. Li Changsheng, you're the coach of the combat team. The combat team is about to head north to participate in a national university combat competition. As a coach, you don't even have shadow. You're too unqualified. I say, Teacher Su Jing, didn't I forget? Why didn't you remind me? What? Is this my fault? On the other side of the phone, Su Jing heard this and added fuel to the fire. However, when Su Jing saw the strange gazes of the people around her, she realized that she was in a public place. She took a deep breath and suppressed her anger. She said, Li Changsheng, we're at the school gate. The bus is ready. If you don't come in half an hour, we'll leave. Chapter 275. At this moment, a bus had been waiting at the entrance of Qingzhou University for a long time. There were many people standing under the bus. Su Jing, Jin Wenwen, Wei Hu, and Wang Dongsheng from the combat team were all there. Other than them, there was another group of people wearing sportswear. They were led by a man and a woman from the Qingzhou Institute of Physical Education. They were also heading north to participate in a national university youth fighting competition. The woman, like Su Jing, was also a teacher in charge of logistics. Her name was He Qiong. The other man was the coach of the Qingzhou Institute of Physical Education. His name was He Tung, and he was He Qiong's brother. The two of them saw that everything was ready, but they still had to wait for half an hour. They were a little unhappy. He Qiong complained, "That coach from Qingzhou University is too unreliable. Who does he think he is to make so many of us wait for him? Indeed, he's a little unreasonable." He Ting nodded in agreement. Su Jing was also very angry about Li Changsheng's behavior. However, when she heard what they said, she was still a little unhappy, but she didn't show it. Who knew that when they heard He Tung's complaint, the students from the Institute of Physical Education took the opportunity to vent their dissatisfaction. That Li Changsheng, I've never heard of him in the combat world. How dare he make us wait for him? That's right. Qingzhou Institute of Physical Education is enough to participate in the fighting competition this time. I don't think it matters whether the Qingzhou University combat team goes or not. Hearing what they said, Wang Dongsheng and the others couldn't take it anymore. They immediately shouted, "If our combat team can't do it, your Institute of Physical Education is even worse. In my opinion, it's better for us to go. Your Institute of Physical Education will only embarrass Qingzhou." That's right. What right does Coach Li have? Our coach can beat all of you up with one hand each. Jin Wenwen didn't want to be outdone. That's enough. Stop talking. Su Jing saw the situation and was afraid that the two sides would get into a physical fight. She quickly spoke up. The Qingzhou Institute of Physical Education's coach, He Tung, also waved his hand and said, "All of you, shut up." After that, he looked at Jin Wenwen. "You said that your coach can beat all of us up with one hand. Are you serious?" "Of course." Jin Wenwen patted her rather magnificent chest. "Our coach's strength is beyond your imagination." He Tung smiled and shook his head. "Don't talk about beating all of us. I admire his strength, even if he can beat me. I heard that your coach is a young man in his 20s. Nowadays, any Tom, Dick, or Harry who knows some fancy moves can be a coach." His disdain was obvious. On the other side, Jean Wenwen was about to explode when she heard that the other party dared to belittle her coach. At this moment, a taxi stopped in front of the school gate. A young man in sportswear who looked like the Sunshine Boy next door walked down. Li Changsheng, you're finally here. Su Jing snorted, but she also heaved a sigh of relief. Seeing that the situation was getting out of control, if Li Changsheng still didn't come, something bad might happen. Good morning, coach. Jean Wenwen, Wang Dongsheng, and Wei Hu shouted respectfully at the same time. You're Li Changsheng? He Qiong was originally afraid that her brother would become enemies with the coach of Qingzhou University's combat team because of his inappropriate words. Now that she saw Li Changsheng, she couldn't help but show some disdain in her eyes. Not only was Li Changsheng so young, but his body was also very thin and weak. He wasn't intimidating at all. No matter how one looked at it, he wasn't on the same level as He Teng, who had a strong physique. You are. Li Changsheng's eyes showed some confusion. She's He Qiong, a teacher from the Qingzhou Sports Academy. Just now, because you were a little late, she couldn't stop nagging. Jean Wenwen complained to Li Changsheng. He Qiong's face instantly turned cold. At this moment, He Teng suddenly stepped forward and looked straight at Li Changsheng. Just now, your student said that you could beat all of us with one hand. That's looking down on the Qingzhou Sports Academy. Now, as the coach of the Qingzhou Sports Academy, I'd like to exchange a few moves with you. Do you dare? He Teng looked straight at Li Changsheng with a sharp gaze. Martial artists were hot-blooded and couldn't be provoked. Jean Wenwen's words just now had provoked him. Unexpectedly, Li Changsheng shook his head. What? You don't dare? He Teng couldn't help but show some disdain. He originally thought that since the other party was the coach of the combat team, he would accept his challenge even if his strength wasn't up to par. However, as a martial artist, he didn't even dare to accept his challenge. This was simply cowardice. He looked down on him. He Qiong and a few other students from the sports academy also couldn't help but show a mocking expression. Someone even couldn't help but mock. What combat team coach? I think he's just a pussy, a coward. He was scared by our coach. I think you, Qingzhou University members, should go back to where you came from. You don't want to embarrass us Qingzhou people. Faced with those people's mockery, even Wang Dongsheng and Wei Hu showed anger on their faces. On the other hand, Jean Wenwen and Su Jing looked at Li Changsheng in confusion. Based on their understanding of Li Changsheng, no matter how strong this He Teng was, Li Changsheng didn't have to be afraid of him at all. Last time in the stadium, Li Changsheng broke the arm of a boxing champion invited by Shundong Hai with one move. No matter how strong the coach of the Qingzhou Sport Academy was, he couldn't be stronger than a boxing champion. Just as these people were puzzled, Li Changsheng shook his head. It's not that I don't dare. I just don't think you're worthy of fighting me. When the word worthy came out, He Teng's face instantly flushed red. Saying such words to a martial artist was no different from giving him a loud slap in the face in public. Li Changsheng didn't even try to be tactful. He directly expressed his attitude. He looked down on He Teng. It was too arrogant, too direct, and too hurtful to his self-esteem. Suddenly, the people of the Qingzhou Sports Academy were like roosters with their feathers standing on end. They all glared at Li Changsheng and clenched their fists. Even He Qiong shouted, "How can you say that? Do you know how to talk? My brother won the World Championship gold belt." World Championship gold belt? Li Changsheng asked back. What? Are you scared? He Qiong couldn't help but puff out her chest. Unexpectedly, Li Changsheng shook his head again. But in my opinion, this kind of competition gold belt is as worthless as a fart. It's worthless. You're courting death. Finally, He Teng couldn't help but take a step forward. The veins on his neck bulged like an angry leopard. What? You want to fight me? Then you can try. I won't let you be so arrogant in front of Qingzhou University. Li Changsheng smiled contemptuously. He Teng, who had originally raised his fist, finally gritted his teeth and put it down. Indeed, fighting with people of Qingzhou University at the entrance of Qingzhou University would easily cause public anger. Moreover, the principal of Qingzhou University was famous for being protective. Good boy. When we reach our destination, I'll teach you a lesson," He-tung said fiercely. Behind him, the students of the Qingzhou Sports Academy also showed disdain. "He's just a coward who only knows how to talk big and doesn't dare to compete with his own coach." Chapter 276. Everyone, let's go. The bus driver stuck his head out of the window and shouted. He felt a little regretful. The fight between the physical education department and the combat team must have been very exciting. Unfortunately, the two sides didn't fight in the end because this guy named Li Changsheng was a little timid. This coach of the Qingzhou University combat team doesn't even have a bit of courage. The driver thought to himself. The bus set off slowly. Li Changxing's seat was clearly separated from the people from the physical education department. Both sides were chatting about their own things. Occasionally, they would look at each other with hostility. This was destined to be a very unpleasant journey. The National High School Youth Fighting Competition was to be held in Yuqi City in the north. Yuqi City was one of the famous birthplaces of martial arts in the north. In addition, the promoter of the fighting competition was born here. In the end, the venue was set here. Yuqi City wasn't close to Qingzhou. The bus took a full 12 hours to arrive. Although the bus was a little slow, it would take at least 5 to 6 hours to get there, even if they drove a car. In the beginning, because of the conflict between the two sides, the atmosphere in the bus was a little tense. However, after the long journey, everyone was a little tired. In the end, they all lay down on their seats and fell asleep. Li Changsheng closed his eyes to rest while breathing. Along the way, they passed by a lot of green mountains and clear waters. There was a lot of spiritual energy. Because there were too many people in the city, the spiritual energy was very thin. However, in the wild, in the mountain villages, they could occasionally pass by small spiritual energy gathering places. The bus traveled all the way and finally arrived at Yuqi at dawn the next day. The organizers had already arranged the accommodation. It was a big hotel. There were also people at the door to welcome them. Teacher Su, Teacher He, Coach He. A middle-aged man with half a bald head was no stranger to Su Jing and He-tung. This is the person in charge of this competition, Director Liu. Su Jing introduced him to Li Changsheng. Teacher Su, just call me Lu Chao. Director, it's just a title. Director Liu was obviously a smooth and slick person. He said with a smile, and at the same time, his eyes swept over Li Changsheng without leaving a trace. This must be Coach Li from the combat team, right? Before this, Director Liu had already seen the list of people to receive. Li Changsheng and Su Jing stood in a row. Although they didn't look like coaches, there were only so many people, so it could only be Li Changsheng. Yes, this is Coach Li Changsheng. Su Jing introduced to the other party. Coach Li is President Chen's confidant. Su Jing nodded without leaving a trace, and Coach Liu's eyes immediately lit up. Chen Ligua had a wide range of connections. Su Jing pointed out Li Changxing's and Chen Ligua's identities, so Director Liu had to pay attention to them. This way, it would be much more convenient for the members of the combat team to do things in Yuqi City. It had to be said that although Su Jing was young, she was proficient in many aspects because she often dealt with them. Coach Li, nice to meet you. President Chen and I hit it off very well. You are President Chen's friend, so you are my friend. Seeing that Director Liu treated Li Changxing differently, He-tung and his sister's faces were as ugly as they could be. However, Director Liu didn't neglect them, so they couldn't vent their anger. They walked into the hotel and arranged their own rooms. Because they walked for 12 hours without eating, everyone was a little hungry. After putting their daily necessities in their rooms, they went to the restaurant on the first floor to eat. Walking into the restaurant, they saw many young people in sportswear. They should be the participants from all over the country. Li Changxing walked in with Wang Dongsheng and the others. Because of Su Jing's beauty, many people looked at her. On the other side, He-tung and his sister and the participants from the Sports Institute had already arrived. They saw He-tung talking and laughing with a few middle-aged people. Looking at the work cards hanging in front of their chests, they were all coaches from various universities. These coaches were all from the combat world. It wasn't the first time they met He-tung, so they knew each other and were talking and laughing. Seeing Li Chongqing walk in, He Ting's face suddenly turned cold. "What's wrong, Coach He? Do you have a grudge against him?" A man with a sharp mouth and monkey-like chin next to him asked. He was the coach of Dragon City University. His name was Ho Fan, and he was a master of Southern boxing. His nickname was Young Master. He was a well-known figure among the coaches of these universities. He had been the bodyguard of many important people. "I have some disagreements with him, but it's not a big deal," He Tung said casually. Looking at his work card, he is also a coach, but he looks thin and weak. He must be a hidden master. Another person glanced at Li Chongqing with curiosity in his eyes. He was wearing a white exercise suit, which made him look like a master. His name was Peng Weidong, and he was also a coach of a university. He was as famous as Ho Fan. He was a master of Xingyi boxing. There was a saying in the circle that went, 10 years in Tai Chi, 1 year in Xingyi boxing, 1 year in Tai Chi, 1 year in Xingyi boxing. There were many masters in the Republic of China. Peng Weidong was the 6th-generation successor of the famous Xingyi boxing master, Li Luoning. He was especially good at half-step bursting fist. It was said that when he had just started his career, he accidentally killed someone in the ring. In the end, he was banned for many years and became a coach. "What do you mean by hidden master? He didn't even have the courage to fight with me. He is just a coward." He Ting curled his lips disdainfully. Everyone around was surprised. As a coach of a university and a martial artist, it was really shameful that he didn't even dare to accept a challenge. "I thought he was a master." Peng Weidong shook his head and looked away from Li Chongqing. "Is that really the case? But I heard that the members of the Qingzhou University fighting team are quite good, especially Wang Dongsheng. Although he is a student, he has already fought in several world championships and even won a championship." Someone voiced his doubts. Every university sent students to participate in the competition. Naturally, everyone knew about each other's information. Only Li Chongqing, a coach who appeared out of nowhere, was unknown to everyone. The others probably knew some basic information. "Humph, do you think I am talking nonsense?" He Ting saw everyone's doubtful eyes and felt a little embarrassed. He walked directly to Li Chongqing and said loudly, "I want to challenge you. Do you dare to accept the challenge?" Li Chongqing looked up at him and shook his head. "I said, you are not worthy of my fight." "Humph, I think you don't dare." He Ting turned back to the coaches and said, "See, he doesn't dare to accept the challenge. But why did I hear him say that you are not worthy of his fight?" The other coaches also nodded. "Humph, he obviously doesn't dare," and found an excuse. "Don't worry, just wait and see. I will prove it to everyone soon." Chapter 277. Li Chongqing and the others were eating. When they saw He Tung's fierce gaze, they couldn't help but frown. Anyone would feel uncomfortable being glared at by a dog-like guy while eating. Wang Dongshang suddenly put his chopsticks on the table and stood up to teach He Ting a lesson. However, he was stopped by Li Chongqing's gaze. "Although your strength is enough to win the championship, you have to know how to hide your strength. It's not good to make a move now. Wait until tomorrow's competition to beat up his students." That would be a slap to his face. As for his coach, if he pisses me off, I'll cripple him. Li Chongqing said casually. Su Jing's hand, which was holding chopsticks, suddenly trembled. When she heard Li Chongqing's words, she couldn't help but think of Li Chongqing's bodyguard. The boxing champion's entire arm was sent flying by Li Chongqing. The scene at that time was simply too cruel. She couldn't help but turn her head to look at He Tung and his sister. There was some pity in her eyes. Offending a monster like Li Chongqing was simply courting death. After the meal, everyone was a little tired and returned to the hotel to rest. The next morning, they went to the stadium in Yuchi City. It was also the first small competition of the fighting competition. After this competition, there would be layers of competition before the real champion would be determined. Li Chongqing, as the coach of Qingzhou University, led the team into the stadium with Su Jing. Today's team competition was based on points. Whichever school had the highest score would advance. Qingzhou University's location was in the corner, next to the Qingzhou Institute of Physical Education. After a night of rest, Wang Dongsheng and the others were full of energy. With Li Changxing's guidance, each of them was full of confidence. The first to go up was Qingzhou University. Li Changsheng let Wei Hu go up. Wei Hu was as strong as an ox, like a small mountain. As soon as he stepped into the ring, he naturally had a strong and fierce aura. His opponent was a muscular man. He was bare-chested and was full of explosive power. However, compared to Wei Hu, he was much smaller. His opponent probably wanted to make the first move to gain the upper hand and catch Wei Hu off guard. Just as the referee shouted the start of the match, a strong step flew up and a knee strike followed. This was a typical Muay Thai fighting style. The knee and elbow were the main attacking methods, and the lethality was extremely high. The referee on the field suddenly felt a strong gust of wind blowing against his face. Such a strike could even break a small tree. It was obvious that he had trained hard. From this, it could be seen that the participants of this fighting competition were all elites from various universities. None of them were weak. However, in the face of his opponent's attack, Wei Hu only chuckled. "Your strength is too weak." He had no intention of dodging at all. He didn't even try to block the attack, allowing the opponent's knee to hit his chest. Bang! When the attack landed on Wei Hu's chest, Wei Hu's body didn't even sway. Instead, Wei Hu's opponent was forced back 3 steps by the recoil. He couldn't help but reveal a look of shock. "I don't believe that you can take 1 hit from me. Can you take 2 or even 3? His opponent rushed up again. This time, a high leg was aimed at Wei Hu's cheek. "I gave you a chance just now, and you still want a yard after taking an inch?" After training in the methods taught by Li Changsheng, Wei Hu, whose body had become stronger, sneered. He suddenly took a step forward and raised his arm to block the opponent's whip kick. Then, his right leg kicked the opponent's calf with a piercing sound. With a kacha sound, the man let out a blood-curdling scream and directly fell to the ground. He gritted his teeth and took a deep breath. It was obvious that this attack had fractured the opponent's bones. The coach next to him couldn't help but gasp. The surrounding spectators felt a chill in their hearts. This was too cruel and terrifying. Even a few popular candidates who were determined to win the championship had fear in their eyes at this moment. Wei Hu was definitely a formidable opponent. Li Changxing saw Wei Hu's victory and smiled slightly. Wang Dongsheng and the others next to him had already cheered. Wei Hu is too powerful. Our Qingzhou University has won the first match and made a good start. Although the opponent was beaten to the ground, the 3 judges still had to announce the result of the match. According to the rules of the match, the red team player has lost his ability to fight. The winner should be student Wei Hu from Qingzhou University. However, we have a written rule before the match. This is a friendly match. Student Wei Hu injured his opponent as soon as he came up. The result of this match is invalid, and Qingzhou University does not score. Hearing the judge's words, the field fell into silence for more than 10 seconds. Then it caused an uproar. "What's going on? Why is it invalid? Fractures and arm injuries are inevitable in a fighting match. Why is the result invalid now? Yeah, what's going on?" On the side of Qingzhou University, the smiles of Su Jing and the others disappeared little by little. In the ring, Wei Hu was also stunned on the spot. "Why?" After coming to his senses, Wei Hu asked angrily. "There's no reason. You attacked ruthlessly. We're already being lenient by not disqualifying you," the judge said coldly. Wei Hu still wanted to say something, but when he saw the cold eyes of the judges, he finally walked out of the ring angrily. After all, he was still a student, and these judges were authoritative figures in the fighting world. If he dared to speak again and was disqualified from the competition, then all his hard work would be for naught. Seeing Wei Hu walk out of the ring, He Tong sneered. On the other side, Li Changxing's face was completely gloomy. He felt that the judge was obviously targeting Qingzhou University. Could it be He Tong's doing? Li Changxing looked at He Tong, only to see that He Tong's face was indeed gloating, but at the same time, he was a little stunned. It shouldn't be him. Then who is it? Li Changxing's eyes were cold, but he did not say anything. He just asked Wei Hu to sit behind him. Next up were students from other schools. When it was almost noon, it was Qingzhou University's turn. This time, Li Changsheng sent Wang Dongsheng to fight. Wang Dongsheng was resentful because of Wei Hu's incident. After he went up, his opponent turned out to be someone from the Qingzhou Institute of Physical Sciences. The Qingzhou Institute of Physical Sciences already had a grudge with Li Changsheng. In addition to his previous anger, Wang Dongsheng's eyes were full of coldness. On the other side, He Tong shouted, "Little Jiao, teach him a lesson." However, before he could finish his sentence, Wang Dongsheng suddenly stomped on the ground and leaped high into the air. Then, he used his knee to hit the other party's chin. This student from the Qingzhou Institute of Physical Sciences was knocked to the ground by Wang Dongsheng in just one move. He was instantly KO'd. On the other side, He Tong's voice came to an abrupt end. The arena instantly became so silent that one could hear a pin drop. After a long while, the judge on the field looked at the three main judges below with an inquiring gaze. The members of the Qingzhou University team were too fierce. Wei Hu broke his opponent's leg with one kick, and Wang Dongsheng KO'd his opponent with one move. Especially when he jumped high, it made many of the female audience's eyes sparkle. "He's just too cool." Qingzhou University student Wang Dongsheng attacked before the judge's hand signal was even finished. This is considered a sneak attack and will not be counted. The result of this competition is invalid. I think this behavior is particularly bad and should be disqualified from the competition. It was still the same main referee. As soon as he finished speaking, Li Changsheng finally couldn't help but stand up from his seat with a bang. Chapter 278. That's right. This Wang Dongsheng didn't even wait for the start of the match to be announced. He's simply too shameless. He Tong from the Qingzhou Institute of Physical Sciences said loudly, "That's not right. I clearly saw the referee announce the start of the match." There was a lot of discussion below. Wang Dongsheng's performance just now was absolutely brilliant. It was just that his move was too fast, and no one could see clearly whether the referee on the field shouted "start" first or when Wang Dongsheng made his move and shouted the word "start." At this moment, Li Changsheng slowly stood up from his chair and left his seat under everyone's gaze. He walked step by step towards the ring. What is he doing? Everyone looked at him curiously. This seems to be the combat coach of Qingzhou University. Is he going to stand up for his student? Someone wondered. That's for sure. Just now, Wei Hu's result was ruled invalid. Now, another student has been disqualified. It would be strange if he's not angry. But what's the use of being angry? Does he dare to go against the three main referees? Why do I feel that the referees are deliberately targeting Qingzhou University? It can't be, right? The three referees are all well-known figures in Yuqi City, especially the main referee, Zhang Bao. He's a nationally renowned combat coach who has trained several world champions. If he's cheating, wouldn't his reputation be ruined? Moreover, the other two referees have no reason to do such a thing with him. Is it really because the two of them broke the rules? In the midst of everyone's discussion, Li Changsheng had already stepped onto the ring. The referee on the field had just walked up and wanted to say something, but when he met Li Changsheng's cold gaze, he involuntarily took 2 steps back. That gaze was very indifferent. In that indifference, it gave off a ferocious aura like that of a wild beast. With just a glance, the referee on the field felt a chill in his heart. Injuries and deaths are inevitable in the ring. Just now, Wei Hu clearly defeated his opponent fair and square. You actually disqualified him from a match. And Wang Dongsheng, you clearly heard the referee on the field shout the start of the match first before Wang Dongsheng made his move. How did it become a reason to disqualify him from the match in your mouth? I request that you replay the scene for everyone. Li Changsheng looked at the 3 judges and said coldly, "You're spouting nonsense. It's clearly your student." He launched a sneak attack before the referee announced the start of the match. Otherwise, how could my student lose to him? Without waiting for the 3 referees to speak, He Tong jumped out. His student had lost to Li Changsheng's student, which made him feel very embarrassed. Moreover, he had long wanted to teach Li Changsheng a lesson, but he had never found a good opportunity. Now, he felt that the opportunity had come. Shut up, Li Changsheng said coldly. I'm seeking justice for my student. It's not your place to interrupt. What did you say? He Ting stared coldly at Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng, who gave you the guts to talk to me like that? In the face of my challenge, you don't even dare to accept it. You're just a coward. There are always some wild dogs who don't know how to spell the word death. Li Changsheng sneered. He was in a bad mood, very bad mood. He Tang had come to provoke him at this time. He was simply courting death. He looked coldly at He Tang and said, "It seems that you really want to fight with me." He Tang's face was full of viciousness. He left his seat and walked to the arena to stand beside Li Changsheng. With cold eyes, he said, "Apologize to me immediately for what you said just now. Otherwise, don't blame me for not showing mercy." What a self-righteous and stupid dog. Li Changsheng didn't want to waste time talking nonsense. He reached out his hand and grabbed He Tang's hair at lightning speed. Then, he used his knee to hit He Tang. He Tang's 1.8-meter-tall body flew up into the air. At the same time, Li Changsheng turned around and kicked He Tang's chest. In the next moment, He Tang's body flew down from the arena and landed on the table where the 3 referees were sitting. Crack! The wooden table shattered instantly. The 3 referees stood up in shock. The microphones and other things on the table fell to the ground. He Tang was lying on the ground. His body kept twitching and white foam came out of his mouth. This scene happened too suddenly, too quickly, and it caught everyone off guard, especially the students from the Qingzhou Institute of Physical Sciences. They were waiting for their coach to teach Li Changsheng a lesson. They didn't expect Li Changsheng to suddenly make a move and kick He Ting out of the arena with one move. They were all dumbfounded. Not only the students from the Qingzhou Institute of Physical Sciences, but the other contestants, the audience, and the 3 referees were all dumbfounded. Coach, after a few seconds, the students from the Qingzhou Institute of Physical Sciences rushed up, followed by the medical staff in the arena. Wang Dongsheng KO'd He Tang's student with one move, and Li Changsheng knocked He Ting out with one move. People couldn't help but exclaim that the students from Qingzhou University were amazing, and their coach was even more amazing. He Tang's sister, He Qiong, glared at Li Changsheng. However, she didn't have time to find trouble with Li Changsheng. She hurriedly carried her brother to the side with the medical staff to check on his injuries. Other than the students from the Qingzhou Institute of Physical Sciences, a few other people stood up. Among them were the coaches from Rong City University, Ho Zhenfan and Peng Weidong, whom they had met in the cafeteria. The 2 of them had a good relationship with He Tang. They used to serve in the same club. When they saw He Tang get beaten up, they stood up. Although they were shocked that Li Changsheng defeated He Tang in an instant, in their eyes, Li Changsheng's sudden attack was obviously a sneak attack. In addition, the 2 of them were very confident in their martial arts. Everyone quiet down. At that moment, a middle-aged man in a suit stood up and said. As soon as he spoke, even Peng Weidong and Ho Zhenfan showed a bit of respect. The middle-aged man slowly walked up to the ring. First, he looked at the 3 people in the referee's seat meaningfully. Then he said to Li Changsheng, "Coach Li, I'm the main person in charge of the Yuchi division of the National Youth Fighting Competition. My name is Guangliang Jia. Just now, I also felt that there were a lot of doubts about the judgment of the 3 referees. Don't worry, I'll give you an explanation." As he spoke, he was about to ask his subordinates to look at the video just now when he heard a cold voice. "I don't think there's anything to be suspicious about. It's obvious that the student from Qingzhou University broke the rules first. The 3 referees' judgment was very fair." As the voice fell, a middle-aged man walked out from the crowd. Behind him were 2 subordinates with extraordinary auras. The moment he saw the middle-aged man's face, Guangliang Jia blurted out, "Mr. Song, why are you here?" Chapter 279. Nice to meet you, Mr. Song. Nice to meet you, Mr. Song. Following the appearance of the middle-aged man, the crowd began to greet him. Not only did the person in charge of the International University, Jia Guangliang, show respect, but even the 3 referees went up to greet him. In the face of everyone's greetings, this Mr. Song only nodded slightly. his expression filled with pride. His gaze landed on Li Changsheng, who was in the ring, and he frowned. "You're the coach of the Qingzhou combat team?" At the same time, the two strong men beside Mr. Song also looked over. Li Changsheng could feel their killing intent. "That's right, I am. Who are you?" Li Changsheng said coldly. Li Changsheng knew that the other party was an enemy and not a friend from the first words he said. "I'm Song Yuanhang." Hearing the name Song Yuanhang, many people were surprised. Even Wang Dongsheng, Wei Hu, and the rest had a slight change in expression. Obviously, this person was very famous. However, Li Changsheng didn't care who he was. He just looked at him coldly. "Just now, you said that my student's results are not questionable. You want to disqualify him?" Li Changsheng asked coldly. "That's right." Song Yuanhang nodded. "Your student broke the rules first. Disqualifying his results is in accordance with the rules of the youth fighting competition." "On what basis?" Li Changsheng asked again. "On the basis that I, Song Yuanhang, am one of the founders of this National Youth College fighting competition." "I see." Li Changsheng could now understand why everyone's expressions changed the moment the other party appeared. He was one of the founders of this fighting competition. His status was so high that even Li Changsheng was slightly surprised. However, as one of the founders, he openly targeted the Qingzhou University combat team. What was the reason? "Now, are you convinced?" Song Yuanhang's face was full of pride. With his status, it could be said that he had the final say in the entire fighting competition. Whoever he disqualified would be disqualified. No one could do anything about it. "I just want to know why." Li Changsheng's eyes were filled with curiosity. He didn't know the other party, but the other party was clearly targeting him. This made him very puzzled. "Quan Jiaming, do you still remember?" Song Yuanhang's eyes were filled with hatred. Li Changsheng shook his head. "I don't remember. I don't know any Quan Jiaming." "Oomph." Song Yuanhang snorted coldly. "You actually said that you don't know someone whose arm you broke? Break his arm?" Li Changsheng suddenly thought of something. "You're talking about Shun Donghai's bodyguard, the boxing champion Ming?" "Oomph. You finally remembered that Ming is my student. You broke my student's arm. Do you think it's possible for your student to get a ranking in the fighting competition that I founded?" "I see." After knowing the ins and outs of the matter, Li Changsheng finally understood. Song Yuanhang was here to avenge his disciple. "Ali, didn't you say that you wanted to avenge your junior brother? Now the opportunity has come," Song Yuanhang said to one of the brawny men next to him. Unexpectedly, the brawny man named Ali licked his lips. There was a hint of contempt in his eyes. "I did say that I would avenge my junior brother, but I thought that the person who defeated him was some kind of god. It turned out that it was just a young boy. He's not worth my time." My junior brother went to the United States for treatment and called back to say that his arm was gone. At that time, I didn't believe it. No matter how powerful a person is, they can only break their arm at most. How can it be gone directly? I thought that he must have made some enemies because of gambling and had his arm cut off. He was afraid that Master would scold him, so he made up such a reason. How could this young man defeat my junior brother? Hearing his disciple's words, Song Yuanhang nodded. Although what you said makes sense, you can't judge a book by its cover. Since he can teach such a powerful disciple and just defeated He Teng from the Qingzhou Institute of Physical Sciences, it means that he is still very strong. As he spoke, he instructed another disciple next to him. "Qiu, since your senior brother doesn't want to fight, you go up. Don't embarrass me." "Okay." The brawny man walked out and walked directly to the ring. After walking up to the ring, he saluted Li Changsheng and Guangling and said, "I'm Qiu Haifeng. Since you defeated my junior brother Ming, according to the Jianghu rules, I'll avenge my junior brother." This was the venue for the youth fighting competition, but it was now used to settle personal grudges. However, no one was unhappy because the other party was Song Yuanhang's disciple, and Song Yuanhang was one of the founders of this competition. In many people's hearts, he was a figure that was about to become a legend. "Li Changsheng, aren't you angry about your disciple's disqualification? As long as you accept my challenge, I can restore your qualification as a student. What do you think? Do you dare to accept my challenge?" "Accept the challenge. Accept the challenge. Accept the challenge." The surrounding people cheered. Wang Dongsheng, Wei Hu, and the others clenched their fists. Originally, they admired Song Yuanhang, a legendary figure in the martial arts world, just like everyone else, but they didn't expect him to do something as shameless as taking revenge. If Song Yuanhang challenged Li Changsheng personally, maybe they would be a little worried for Li Changsheng. However, Song Yuanhang's disciple also wanted to fight Li Changsheng. In their eyes, he was clearly courting death. "Coach, you must teach him a lesson," Wei Hu said loudly. "Yes, coach, let them know the consequences of offending our Qingzhou University fighting team." Jin Wenwen also shouted. "Coach Li, do you dare to accept the challenge? If you're afraid of losing face in front of your students, you can refuse. However, you don't have to lead your students to participate in some competition. Go back to your Qingzhou with your tail between your legs." Xiu Haifeng said coldly, "And I'll investigate how my junior brother lost his arm. If it has anything to do with you, I'll destroy the stake." As he said that, he reached out and slapped the cement stake next to him. When he slapped it, there was nothing wrong with the stake. However, the moment he picked it up, the stake immediately cracked from the middle and broke into pieces on the ground. Seeing this scene, there was a sudden gasp in the field. There were steel bars inside the cement stake. With one slap, he didn't even touch the steel bars, and the steel bars were broken. This was too terrifying. Xiu Haifeng had a complacent look on his face as he looked coldly at Li Changsheng. This move was extremely intimidating. He believed that in the near future, the news of him revealing this move would spread in the martial arts circle. When that time came, his prestige in the martial arts world would definitely skyrocket. As for whether the news of him and his disciple using the power in their hands to target the Qingzhou University fighting team would also spread, he didn't care at all. Martial artists were originally quick to repay kindness and revenge. People only cared about whose martial arts were better. How many people cared about whether what they did was moral? Things like martial arts morals had long become worthless in today's society. Chapter 280. Achio's strength has improved again. Song Yuanhang's face showed his appreciation. Among his disciples, Ali was the strongest and had reached covert strength. His second disciple, Achio, was slightly weaker. He had been hovering around the peak of clear strength. Obviously, he had reached covert strength with his palm just now. Otherwise, he couldn't have broken the steel bar. His third disciple, Ming, had been in the boxing ring and had won the title of Boxing King. He was very talented, but he didn't expect that his arm would be broken by Li Changsheng. The coaches from various universities were all shocked. The strongest among them was only at the peak of clear strength. They could only look up to Xiu Haifeng for what she had done. I wonder if Li Changsheng can withstand it. Su Jing was worried. Last time, Li Changsheng had directly broken Ming's arm. Although she had witnessed the scene with her own eyes and was very shocked, Xiu Haifeng's move to break the cement pillar was also very clever. With her eyesight, she could not tell who was stronger and who was weaker. Wang Dongsheng, Wei Hu, and Jin Wenwen were also worried. They were not worried that Li Changsheng was not Xiu Haifeng's opponent. They were very clear about this coach's strength. What they were worried about was Xiu Haifeng's master, Song Yuanhang. If a disciple had such strength, how powerful would his master be? Humph! Mr. Qiu, you must teach him a lesson. It's best if you beat him until he can't take care of himself. He Tung's sister, He Qiong, was helping her brother to come over. Just now, He Ting had been kicked off the stage by Li Changsheng and was twitching uncontrollably. Now, he had finally recovered. His legs were a little lame, but his body was fine. However, Li Changsheng's face revealed a look of surprise. It seems that I underestimated this guy's physical strength. But that was it. Li Changsheng had held back his strength when he attacked. Otherwise, with He Ting's strength, he could have broken him with one kick. Are you sure you want to fight with me? Li Changsheng looked at Xiu Haifeng quietly and said, What? Are you afraid? Xiu Haifeng sneered. A staff member had already brought 2 chairs over, and Song Yuanhang sat down on one of them. His disciple, Ali, did not dare to stand side by side with his master. He only stood respectfully behind Song Yuanhang. In his opinion, Li Changsheng had been silent for so long because he was scared and didn't want to pay any more attention to him. Song Yuanhang whispered to the person in charge of the competition, Jia Guangliang, what happened today might spread. You guys have to do a good job in public relations. Although the National Youth Fighting Competition was founded by me and a few other people in the same field, it will still damage my reputation if word gets out. Yes, Jia Guangliang nodded. He was just a small staff member of this branch. Although he knew that Song Yuanhang was in the wrong, he didn't dare open his mouth to question him. Also, get the medical staff ready. Achio doesn't know how to control his strength. If he kills someone, it will be troublesome. All right, Jia Guangliang nodded, but he couldn't help but whisper carefully. Just now, he knocked He Tung from the Qingzhou Sports Academy out of the arena in 2 moves. Although Mr. Chiu is very strong, but are you afraid that Achio is not his match? Song Yuanhang curled his lips. Didn't you see Achio's move just now? Do you think it is possible for him to be Achio's match at his age? Don't worry, I know my disciple. Even if Achio is only at the peak of clear strength, it will be very easy for him to deal with him, let alone Achio, who has reached concealing strength. That's true. Jia Guangliang nodded, feeling that his worries were indeed a little unnecessary. That cement pillar could be smashed by Chiu Haifeng. If it hit a person's body, even if they didn't die, they would be seriously injured. Since you want to avenge your junior, I can help you. But you're not qualified. Let your senior and your master fight together, so that I don't have to waste my time. What? Li Changsheng finished his words. Chiu Haifeng was stunned on the spot. The people around were also speechless. This guy was too arrogant. He actually wanted to challenge 3 people alone. They thought that he wouldn't dare to accept the challenge. At the same time, many people chuckled. Chiu Haifeng and Ali were not a big deal. They didn't walk in the fighting world, so people didn't know their reputation. But Song Yuanhang was a legend in the fighting world. He had once created a fighting record of 100 victories. He had a name in Jianghu called the Invincible Iron Fist and left countless legends. Not to mention anything else, just by seeing Chiu Haifeng smashing the cement pillar with 1 palm, people knew that his master was awesome. Li Changsheng actually wanted to challenge Song Yuanhang and said that the 3 of them should fight together. Was this guy crazy? At this moment, sure enough, after Li Changsheng finished his words, Song Yuanhang's admirers immediately shouted, "Boy, who gave you the courage? Do you know what kind of person Mr. Song Yuanhang is? You really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. You can't even deal with Mr. Song's disciple, and you want to challenge Mr. Song. Let's go through Achio first." The people below shouted. Song Yuanhang was stunned at first, then he laughed and said, "You know that you won't be able to get away with it today, so you came up with this method to challenge 3 people alone. If you're lucky enough to injure one of my 2 disciples, even if you lose in the end, I'm afraid your reputation will spread far and wide. But if you can't take any advantage at all and lose miserably, then it's fine." At that time, you can tell the public that you're fighting 3 people alone. Even if you lose, it's still a glorious defeat. On our side, the 3 of us will fight together. No matter if we win or lose, it won't be good if word gets out, so I absolutely can't agree to it. Song Yuanhang shook his head directly. Hearing Song Yuanhang's words, the people in the field suddenly understood. So that's what he's planning. How scheming. This is too shameless. At this time, Chiu Haifeng clenched his fist and said with a smile, "Boy, you're not qualified to challenge my master, unless you defeat me first." As soon as he finished speaking, Chiu Haifeng suddenly took a step forward, raised his arm, and punched directly at Li Changsheng's head. When the punch was thrown, there was a whistling sound in the air, as if a whip was lashing in the air. It was very domineering. So powerful. Many people's faces around changed color. Most of the people in the field were martial arts practitioners. Even the ordinary audience were martial arts enthusiasts. Moreover, even people who knew nothing about martial arts could see and feel the power of that punch. This Chiu Haifeng is so terrifying. Just now, he smashed the cement pile with a slap. I'm afraid that this punch can kill a tiger. This is a real martial arts master. I've seen a lot of things today. On the other side, He Tung and his sister clenched their fists. Li Changsheng, the humiliation you inflicted on me just now. Now, someone has finally done the same to you. This is karma, He Tung said with hatred. Even Wei Hu and the others stared at the ring nervously. Although they knew Li Changsheng's strength, they could not help but feel nervous when they felt the power of Qiu Haifeng's punch. They did not know how he would block such a powerful punch. Many people looked at Li Changsheng's position. They saw Li Changsheng standing there, turning a blind eye to the falling fist. What's going on? Is he scared out of his wits? It's over. If this punch hits his head, I'm afraid that he will die on the spot. What's wrong with Li Changsheng? Su Jing stood up from her seat with a bang. Her heart jumped to her throat. Below the stage, Song Yuanhang couldn't help but frown. I forgot to tell Qiu not to hit the vitals when he attacked. It's too late now. If someone dies, it'll be troublesome. Chapter 281. Seeing Li Changsheng standing there in a daze, many people couldn't help but turn their heads to the side. Qiu Haifeng had just smashed the cement pillar with his palm. If it hit someone's head, blood would splatter everywhere. He's dead. Not far away, He Tung and He Qiong's eyes were gleaming with joy. They couldn't wait for Li Changsheng to die as quickly as possible. The rest of the people, especially the women, exclaimed. However, soon, all kinds of exclamations and joy turned into surprise. Under the incredulous eyes of the crowd, Li Changsheng gently raised his hand and then met Qiu Haifeng's palm. Crack! There was a crisp sound. Many people thought that Li Changsheng's arm was cut off, but they saw Qiu Haifeng's arm bent back in a strange posture. Then, he let out a scream and took a few steps back. His forehead was covered with cold sweat, and his eyes were filled with horror. Now do you think I'm worthy? Li Changsheng looked at Qiu Haifeng quietly, his eyes full of indifference. A few seconds ago, when he said that he would challenge Song Yuanhang and his two disciples, everyone thought he was arrogant. But now, he broke Qiu Haifeng's arm so easily. Everyone finally understood his strength. You're courting death. Song Yuanhang took a step forward, his eyes filled with killing intent. Qiu Haifeng was a disciple he was very proud of. He cultivated him as his successor, but now his arm was broken. More importantly, he was humiliated in front of so many people. On the other side, his eldest disciple, Ali, finally showed a surprised expression. He knew his junior brother, Qiu Haifeng's strength very well. Even he couldn't break Qiu Haifeng's arm in one move. Master, let me do it, Ali said. Song Yuanhang shook his head. You're no match for him. With that, he flicked his sleeves and strode toward the arena. Mr. Song is going to do it himself. There will be a good show. Mr. Song was known as the invincible Iron Fist. He defeated strong enemies in his life. Even he's going to do it himself. It seems that this kid does have some skills. How could this be? Even Peng Weidong and Ho Zhanfan, who wanted to stand up for the Tung siblings, heaved a long sigh of relief. Fortunately, he didn't make a move just now. Otherwise, the ones with broken arms would be the two of them. On the other side, Wei Hu Wang Dongsheng, Su Jing, and Jin Wenwen all clenched their fists. A coach is a coach. He's not someone that any Tom, Dick, or Harry can challenge. Qiu Haifeng and Chun Jiaming are just weaklings in the coach's hands. Wei Hu and the others said excitedly. When Song Yuanhang heard this, his face turned purple. If he couldn't defeat Li Changsheng today, then all the fame and prestige he had built up over the years would go down the drain. Martial artists were like this. No matter how many times they succeeded, as long as they failed once, all their previous efforts would be wasted. Song Yuanhang walked up the stage and stared straight at Li Changsheng. He clasped his hands and said, Friend, you're quite skilled. You broke my disciple's arm with a single punch. It seems like I've underestimated you. Hearing this, Li Changsheng sneered. He's just a dog. If I wasn't afraid of dirtying my hands, I would have killed him with one slap. Hearing Li Changxing's words, even though Song Yuanhang tried his best to keep calm, he still showed anger on his face. He was too arrogant. It was despicable enough to ignore him. It was too much to call his disciple a dog. But at the same time, a deep fear rose in his heart. Since he could say this, it meant that he was fearless. But then again, even he didn't see Li Changxing's move clearly. Even Song Yuanhang was a little unsure. Iron Fist, invincible Song Yuanhang. I like to learn from you. Song Yuanhang took a deep breath and said in a loud voice. He looked quite like a master. Of course, if he knew the dirty things he did, he would seem pretentious. I've said that you and your disciple can come together. Don't waste my time. After saying this, Song Yuanhang's face changed several times. The other party didn't seem to put him in his eyes at all. This made him feel deeply humiliated. If Li Changxing had said such words before, Song Yuanhang would have already slapped him and taught him a lesson. But now, he knew that Li Changxing was very terrifying. The more he probed into Li Changxing's strength, the more he found that the other party was unfathomable. Li Changxing, you are indeed very powerful. Since my disciple, Qiu, promised to help you, your disciple will not be disqualified and can compete normally. I, Song Yuanhang, will remember my disciple's matter in my heart. In the future, I will seek justice for him. Song Yuanhang took a deep breath and turned to leave the arena. Now that this match was witnessed by so many people, he really didn't have the courage to attack Li Changxing, because if he lost, he wouldn't be able to bear it. But just as he was about to turn, Li Changxing said coldly, "You schemed against me. Do you think you can leave with such a light sentence?" Song Yuanhang's face changed immediately. "What do you want?" Li Changxing said coldly, "If you don't dare to fight with me, that's fine. Apologize to my two students and get lost." Li Changxing's voice fell, and everyone's face changed drastically. Mr. Li, the person in charge, Jia Guangliang, wanted to mediate, seeing that things had developed to an uncontrollable point. In fact, everyone knew who was in the right and who was in the wrong. If Song Yuanhang didn't go against Qingzhou University first, this wouldn't have happened. But Song Yuanhang was one of the founders of the fighting competition after all, and he was also a well-known figure. If he really apologized to two juniors, he would lose all his face. But Li Changxing was also not ordinary. His strength was outstanding. It was normal for such a person to be arrogant and insolent. "Coach Li, do you really want to become enemies with me?" Song Yuanhang's face was cold. "Can I?" Li Changxing said lightly, his eyes full of mockery. What bullsh*** T invincible iron fist in the fighting world? In his eyes, it was dog shit. If that's the case, then I can only ask for your advice. At this moment, Song Yuanhang was in a difficult position. Apologizing was absolutely impossible, because if he lowered his head today, it would be even more difficult to pick up the lost face in the future. And if the news of him apologizing to a young man spread, Li Changxing's reputation would increase. This was something he couldn't accept. "Coach Li, let's learn from each other." Song Yuanhang took a deep breath. His eyes were extremely cold. Many people held their breaths and focused their minds. Song Yuanhang hadn't fought for many years, but he was famous and well-known in the martial arts world. To be treated so seriously by him was enough to show that Li Changxing was extraordinary. But Li Changxing's next words made Song Yuanhang's face instantly turn red. "You're not qualified to learn from me. I can defeat you with one hand." Chapter 282. Disregard. Blatant disregard. Song Yuanhang's face suddenly turned red, and his eyes were replaced by anger. It caused an uproar in the crowd. "Isn't this too arrogant? Although this Coach Li is very strong, he is young and frivolous. It is inevitable that he does not know the immensity of heaven and earth." Song Yuanhang became famous 30 years ago. He is known as the invincible Iron Fist, yet he is looking down on him like this. It is normal for young people to be a little arrogant. It is disgusting to be too arrogant. Mr. Song can teach him a lesson. Song Yuanhang was regarded as a legend in the fighting world. Many people worshipped him blindly. Even though he deliberately targeted the Qingzhou University fighting team with despicable means and showed that his character was not good, he was automatically filtered out by many of his admirers. The so-called brainless fans were probably like this. Make your move. Don't waste my time, Li Chongqing said lightly. Song Yuanhang's eyes showed some anger. At this point, if he did not do anything, then the title of the invincible Iron Fist would be in vain. He took a step forward, and a powerful aura rose from his body. His entire body shot out like a sharp arrow, leaving behind a series of afterimages in the arena. His fists also produced sonic booms. Amazing! Even Wei Hu and the others, who thought highly of Li Chongsheng, exclaimed. This Song Yuanhang was indeed the master of Qiu Haifeng and the others. Few people could compare the skills. Even tigers and leopards could not have such explosive power. Many people stared at the ring, feeling excited. They were originally watching the competition of the various fighting teams. They did not expect to see a master like Song Yuanhang in action. Can this Li Chongsheng block it? This was the thought that came to everyone's mind. Li Chongsheng moved his feet lightly and did not take the attack head-on. Song Yuanhang's figure whizzed past Li Chongsheng's face with a distance of 0.01 seconds, Li Chongsheng dodged the attack. This Li Chongsheng is not Mr. Song's opponent. He can only dodge, someone said. However, the person next to him shook his head. Mr. Song's speed is so fast, and this Li Chongsheng dodged at such a precise angle. His strength is also very terrifying. Many knowledgeable people in the field naturally knew that dodging didn't mean that it was impossible. After Li Chongsheng dodged the attack, Song Yuanhang stamped his foot on the ground again. His body shot forward like an arrow. His fist raised into the air and smashed down on Li Chongsheng's head. Even a big water buffalo would be chopped to death by this punch. Song Yuanhang's eyes were cold. This was one of his ultimate moves. As long as one was not a martial arts grandmaster, they would not be able to block this attack. Facing this attack, Li Chongsheng didn't continue to dodge. Instead, he raised his arm again. What is he trying to do? Do you want to treat Song Yuanhang like how you treated Qiu Haifeng? Someone cried out in alarm. He has really made the wrong decision this time. Although Qiu Haifeng is powerful, she has only cultivated the inward force. You should know that Song Yuanhang has already integrated the inside and the outside, and is infinitely close to the Grandmaster realm. His power is many times stronger than Qiu Haifeng's. The referee, Zhang Li Bao, showed pity in his eyes. However, in the next moment, the fist hit Li Chongqing's arm, and there was a loud bang. In an instant, the ring under Li Chongqing's feet cracked like a spider web. His clothes were constantly torn under the force of the fist. The wind brought by the fist made the spectators around the ring feel pain on their cheeks. Many people couldn't help but cover their faces with their hands. The coaches of several martial arts schools kept their eyes fixed on the field. In the next moment, Song Yuanhang suddenly took a few steps back. He covered his arm with his hand, and there was a look of horror on his face. How could this be? He exclaimed. However, Li Chongsheng withdrew his arm as if nothing had happened, and raised his foot to take a step forward. There was a 3-foot-deep footprint in the ring where he had been, grafting flowers on a tree. When Li Chongsheng took the attack, he diverted all the force to his feet. Song Yuanhang covered his arm, and there was a look of disbelief on his face. When Li Chongsheng diverted his attack, there was another force that rushed back to his arm, and there was a heart-wrenching pain in his arm. He knew that he had probably fractured his arm. On the other side, Ali and his second disciple, Qiu Haifeng, opened their eyes wide at the same time. At this moment, Li Chongsheng looked at Song Yuanhang quietly. He didn't say anything, but there was some impatience in his eyes. This impatience made Song Yuanhang's heart skip a beat. He knew that Li Chongsheng was going to be ruthless. As expected, Li Chongsheng slowly took another step forward. In the next moment, Song Yuanhang hurriedly waved his hand and said, I'm willing to apologize. He didn't really realize his mistake, but he knew that Li Changsheng had fractured his arm with the force of the rebound. If he really attacked, he would be disabled even if he didn't die. Okay, go. You can get out after apologizing. Li Changsheng treated this legendary figure respected by everyone in the fighting world like a cat or a dog. However, Song Yuanheng didn't feel the slightest bit angry. Li Changsheng was the most terrifying person he had seen in all these years. With such strength, he might not even be a cat or a dog in the eyes of others. I'm sorry, both of you. It's my fault. Song Yuanheng covered his arm, walked in front of Wang Dongsheng and Wei Hu, and bowed deeply. Wei Hu and Wang Dongsheng couldn't believe that a figure like Mount Tai in the martial arts world would do such a thing. They were even more flattered. In the next moment, Song Yuanheng turned around and walked back the way he came. I don't believe that you're really that powerful. Suddenly, a figure jumped into the ring like a cheetah. Then, a fist with a strong wind hit Li Changsheng. It was Song Yuanheng's eldest disciple, Ali. He took advantage of the fact that no one was paying attention to go around the ring and suddenly launched an attack. Shameless. Many people watching the fight said hatefully, "Coach, be careful." Li Changsheng, be careful. Jin Wenwen and Su Jing shouted at the same time. At this moment, Ali had already arrived in front of Li Changsheng, and Li Changsheng didn't seem to react. Could it be that after Li Changsheng defeated Song Yuanheng, he would lose to Ali? Many people had such thoughts in their minds. But on the other side, Song Yuanheng showed some pity. He sighed. My disciple is still too reckless. Sure enough, in the next moment, no one saw clearly how Li Changsheng attacked. They saw Ali fly out of the ring at an even faster speed. When he landed, a large part of his chest had caved in. Blood gushed out his mouth. Call an ambulance, Song Yuanheng shouted, and then bowed deeply to Li Changsheng. Coach Li, I didn't discipline him well. Please blame me. Get lost, Li Changsheng said coldly. He didn't bother to look at this master and disciple again. Song Yuanheng didn't dare to hesitate. He nodded and looked at his second disciple, Chiu, who also had a broken arm, and his eldest disciple, Ali, who was carried out of the stadium by the medical staff. Chapter 283. Song Yuanheng was a well-known figure in the martial arts world. Today, his arm was broken and he was forced to kneel. Many of Song Yuanheng's admirers couldn't accept such an outcome. At this moment, Wei Hu and the others were already excitedly surrounding Li Changsheng. They were proud to have such a coach. How terrifying was Coach Li to be able to defeat Song Yuanheng so easily. Countless excellent coaches looked at Li Changsheng with awe. With such a powerful coach, I'm afraid that the next martial arts competition will be Qingzhou University's stage. Peng Weidong couldn't help but sigh. The competition went on for another 3 days. Jin Wenwen continued the glorious record created by Wei Hu and Wang Dongsheng. After KOing her opponent with a high whip kick, Qingzhou University's reputation spread far and wide. 3 days later, the competition ended. Qingzhou University's martial arts team advanced to the next round with the best results. The next competition came to an end. The next competition would be held in 3 months. It's time for us to return to Qingzhou. In the hotel, Li Changsheng packed his luggage. Wang Dongsheng and the others were waiting beside him. Li Changsheng's prestige in their hearts was growing. Even Su Jing, the teacher, admired Li Changsheng very much. Yeah, it's time for us to go back. On the bus back to Qingzhou, Li Changsheng and the others didn't see anyone from the Qingzhou Institute of Physical Sciences. After asking around, they found out that because Li Changsheng defeated Song Yuanheng, He Tung and his sister now saw Li Changsheng as a jinx. They rented a car to return to Qingzhou and didn't dare to squeeze on the same bus as them. Li Changsheng didn't care about this. If they didn't squeeze with him, it would be even more spacious. The car started. Wang Dongsheng and Jin Wenwen looked at each other, then said to the crowd, I didn't mention it on the way here because time is tight. We'll pass by my hometown, Suzhou, on the way back. Do you want to get off there? I'll treat everyone to Suzhou's specialties. After saying that, Wei Hu nodded. Su Jing then asked Li Changsheng, "Coach Li, what do you think?" Obviously, this trip was rather boring, and Su Jing also wanted to relax. "Okay, since everyone wants to go, we'll get off halfway and let the driver drive the car back." Hearing Li Changsheng nod his head, Wang Dongxing's face lit up. "I'll call my friend to my hometown and ask them to prepare the specialties of her hometown." Wen and I discussed it, and I was afraid that Coach Li wouldn't agree. "You and Jean Wen?" Li Changxing's face was filled with confusion. Su Jing explained with a smile, "Coach Li, you're not qualified to be a coach. Wang Dongsheng and Jean Wen have been a couple for a long time." "Really?" Li Changxing couldn't help but laugh. Actually, he really didn't notice this aspect. After Su Jing said this, he saw that the two of them had been holding hands the whole time. Moreover, the way they looked at each other was so tender and sweet. It was obvious that they were in love. The few of them got out of the car when they passed by Suzhou. At the entrance of the highway, two commercial vehicles had been waiting for a long time. 3 young men and 2 girls got out of the car. After seeing Wang Dongsheng, one of the men in sportswear came up and punched him on the shoulder. "Kid, you still know to come back? I don't see you all year round." As he spoke, he looked at Jean Wen standing on the side. "You must be my sister-in-law, right? Nice to meet you, sister-in-law." Jean Wen showed a rare shyness on her face. Wang Dongsheng introduced them to Li Changsheng and the others. "This is my good brother, Chen Junjie. This is Su Yang and Lin Kuan." Then he pointed to the 2 girls and Xiaoran, Ning Xin. Ning Xin was just like her name. She looked very virtuous and quiet, while Xiaoran was more of the cute type. And Xiaoran's eyes were wide open as she sized up Li Changsheng and the others. Wei Hu's appearance was too rough, so she immediately excluded him from her list. As for Li Changsheng, he seemed a little ordinary. In the end, she sighed. It's really hard to find a good man these days. Ningxin seemed to know what she was thinking. She rolled her eyes at her. Chen Junjie, Su Yang, and Lin Kuan all came up to greet Li Changsheng and the others. Su Jing's appearance was definitely a beauty. The 3 of them couldn't help but look at her. "This is teacher Su Jing. She's in charge of our combat team's logistics. This is Wei Hu, my good brother." Finally, he introduced Li Changsheng grandly. "This is our combat coach, the fierce man I always tell you about on the phone." "What?" Now, all eyes were focused on Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng's appearance was nothing special, and his body was also relatively weak. Unexpectedly, he was the fierce person that Wang Dongsheng had mentioned to them recently, the super powerful fighting technique. Even Ningxin and Xiaoran had a strange look in their eyes. "Coach Li, I've heard a lot about you." Chen Junjie looked like a talkative person. He came up and shook Li Changsheng's hand and pretended to salute. "Coach Li, I heard that you're super good at fighting. Would you like to take me as your disciple?" Li Changsheng couldn't help but smile. He knew that the other party was joking. Su Yang and Lin Kuan also took the opportunity to ask Li Changsheng about martial arts, such as leaping onto roofs and vaulting over walls, hitting a cow across a mountain, and so on. Wang Dongsheng was speechless. He said, "How can there be such a powerful martial arts in the world? It's already amazing to break several layers of planks with one punch. Do you really think there are martial arts masters who can fly around like on TV?" If it was a normal martial art, it would be impossible to escape from gravity, but cultivators could do it. However, Li Changsheng didn't say anything. If he said that there really were people who could fly, not to mention others, even Chen Junjie and the others would think that he was bragging. As for Ningxin and Xiaoran, they weren't interested in these things. In addition, Li Changsheng looked ordinary, so they weren't interested in him and Wei Hu. Instead, he asked Su Jing and Xiaoran a lot of questions for Chen Junjie and the others. He asked some questions, such as whether they had boyfriends. "Well, let's not waste time here. If you have anything to say, let's go back to the city," Wang Dongsheng said. Chen Junjie drove a Lincoln. Wei Hu, Wang Dongsheng, and Jean Wen sat in his car. Li Changsheng and Su Jing had to sit in Ningxin's Audi TT with Xiaoran. There were 3 girls in the car, and only Li Changsheng was a man. Ningxin was driving, and Xiaoran sat in the passenger seat, and Su Jing and Li Changsheng sat in the back. Probably to take care of Ningxin, the female driver, the Lincoln in front drove very slowly. Li Changsheng had been observing the terrain outside to see if he could be lucky enough to find a spirit vein to speed up his cultivation. Su Jing chatted with Li Changsheng from time to time, but seeing that Li Changsheng was always looking outside, she couldn't help but be a little angry. Li Changsheng, what's the meaning of this? Last time, you refused to eat with me. This time, why are you so absent-minded when I'm talking to you? Isn't this too much? After saying this, Su Jing regretted it, because there was a hint of bitterness in her tone. Sure enough, as soon as her voice fell, Ningxin and Shaoran couldn't help but turn their heads. Su Jing couldn't help blushing. Li Changxing reacted and said with a smile, "Sorry, I was a little absent-minded just now." And Ningxin and Shaoran showed some doubts in their eyes at the same time, because in their opinion, Li Changxing was really very ordinary. Even if he knew some martial arts, he was not worthy of Su Jing at all. But in Su Jing's eyes, he seemed to be very popular. Is there any charm in him that I haven't noticed? For this reason, after the car arrived, and Shaoran looked at Li Changxing a few times, but couldn't help but shake her head. At this time, Lin Junjie and the others also got out of the car in front and walked into the hotel together. Walking in the back, and Shaoran whispered to Ningxin, "I really can't find any merit in this guy. Why does Su Jing seem to treat him differently? I really can't figure it out." Ning Xian smiled. Everyone has their own preferences. Perhaps teacher Su Jing likes this style. Maybe, and Shaoran stuck out her tongue. Anyway, I can't appreciate it. Chapter 284. Wang Dongxing's friends had already booked a table at a famous hotel in Suzhou. Especially since it was lunchtime, the hotel was bustling with people. As they walked into the hotel, Li Changsheng suddenly saw a familiar figure in front of him. When the person turned around, he saw clearly that it was Dong Fian, the daughter of the Dong family that he met in Yanjing. However, because there were too many people, Dong Fian didn't see Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng wasn't a person who liked to make friends, so he didn't take the initiative to greet her. He walked to the reserved table with Wang Dongsheng and the others and sat down. The dishes were served one after another. Wang Dongsheng and Chen Junjie talked about their past. Wei, who was a little hungry and crazily swept up the dishes on the table. Ningxin and Shaoran and Su Jing seemed to get along quite well. Li Changsheng was a little bored sitting there. Halfway through the meal, Wang Dongsheng finally realized that he had neglected Li Changsheng, so he hurriedly changed the topic to Li Changsheng. Ningxin wasn't interested in Li Changsheng as a combat coach, but kept changing the topic to Su Jing. It seemed that he wanted to introduce Chen Junjie to Su Jing. In fact, Chen Junjie was about the same age as Wang Dongsheng, but now that he had his own company, he was definitely an elite of the younger generation. Chen Junjie also looked at Su Jing with a burning gaze. Su Jing's appearance was undoubtedly very attractive, but unfortunately, Su Jing was indifferent to Chen Junjie's advances. On the contrary, her attitude towards Li Changsheng was interesting. This made Chen Junjie feel a little indignant. In his opinion, Li Changsheng couldn't be compared to him at all. He looked ordinary, wore ordinary clothes, and didn't look like a rich person. He was just a combat coach who could fight a little. What was the use of fighting in today's society? As long as you had money, you could easily hire many boxing champions as your bodyguards. Chen Junjie wasn't the only one who felt indignant. Even Ningxin and Shaoran and the others felt indignant for Chen Junjie. Therefore, their attitude towards Li Changsheng was a little different, which made Wang Dongxing feel a little awkward. By the way, did you see that just now? I think I saw the richest man in Suzhou eating here. And Shaoran took the initiative to start the conversation. I think he's accompanying someone. Ningxi nodded. To be accompanied by the richest man in Suzhou, his identity must be extraordinary, right? I know. That's the eldest daughter of the Dong family, Dong Fian. It's said that she came to Suzhou to invest in a project. Now, the Dong family is very unusual in the entire Northwest region, especially the eldest daughter, Dong Fian. She's now the head of the Dong family. I heard that she met some benefactor and suddenly rose to power. Lin Kuan happened to know some inside information and said with a bit of flaunting, "What noble person!" And Sharon's eyes lit up. Gossiping was a woman's nature. It's said to be Mr. Li. We don't know the details. Anyway, the bosses of several big companies in the Northwest took the initiative to do business with the Dong family and try to please her. "I really want to get to know this Mr. Li." And Shaoran rested her chin on her hand and said, "I'm different from you. I'm not interested in that Mr. Li. After all, his status is too high and far beyond our reach. But the eldest daughter of the Dong family, Dong Fian, is definitely a beauty. It would be great if I could have a drink with her." Su Yang looked in that direction from time to time. After he came in, he took one look at Dong Fian and was deeply fascinated. He couldn't forget her. "Brother, don't think about Dong Fian's identity. I'm afraid that even the son of the richest man in Suzhou has no hope. If you want to be worthy of her, you have to be at least the son of the top 20 entrepreneurs in China." Lin Kuan patted Su Yang's shoulder to comfort him. "Well, let's eat. The dishes will get cold soon." Wang Dongsheng picked up the chopsticks. Suddenly, his phone rang. When he picked up the phone, his face instantly darkened. "What's wrong?" Until Wang Dongsheng put down the phone, everyone was puzzled. "Nothing. Let's eat." Wang Dongsheng forced a smile. "Obviously, there's something wrong. Does Dongsheng still treat us as brothers? What is it that he wants to tell us?" Chen Junjie said loudly. "Yes, tell us, and we can think of a solution together." Ning Xian also nodded. "Alas," Wang Dongsheng sighed. "Do you remember that I said that my family arranged a marriage for me when I was a child? Is it the daughter of the Liu family?" Chen Junjie and the others' faces suddenly changed. Wang Dongsheng nodded with a wry smile. "Didn't you say that the daughter of the Liu family already has a boyfriend? You two shouldn't have much to do with each other." Su Yang was puzzled. Wang Dongsheng did have a fiancée when he was a child, but that was when the Wang family and the Liu family were on equal footing. Later, the Liu family's business became prosperous, and the two families rarely contacted each other. Moreover, the daughter of the Liu family brought back a boyfriend 2 years ago. This was a well-known matter in the upper-class circle of Suzhou. Because of this, Wang Dongsheng was ridiculed for a long time. He was thought to be a cuckold. However, it was impossible for the two families to be connected by marriage. This had become the consensus of everyone. Wang Dongsheng's new girlfriend had nothing to do with the Liu family. "I heard that the boyfriend of the eldest daughter of the Liu family has a new lover, but the eldest daughter of the Liu family has been pregnant for 6 months. He doesn't want her anymore," Wang Dongsheng said. "Don't tell me that he wants you to take over because he doesn't want her anymore," Chen Junjie blurted out. All the people present widened their eyes. "Isn't this too outrageous?" Wang Dongsheng nodded with a wry smile. "The Liu family is so shameless. Then you can just reject it directly." Su Jing blurted out. "It's not that easy. The Liu family is very powerful in the Northwest region, and now my family's company is facing a crisis. The Liu family is threatening me with this. If I don't marry their daughter, they will bankrupt my family. My father just called and asked me to consider it. He won't force me." Hearing Wang Dongsheng's words, the room fell into silence. Although the Liu family was shameful, they were powerful. This was the reality. "Then what are you going to do?" Su Jing asked angrily. "If you agree with the Liu family, what will Wenwen do?" Jean Wenwen also bit her lips and stared at Wang Dongsheng. Wang Dongsheng looked painful. On one hand, it was his family, and on the other hand, it was his beloved. He was in a dilemma. "Is there no other way?" Jean Wenwen asked. Her voice was obviously hoarse. Wang Dongsheng shook his head. "Well, I choose to back out. I can't let you be an unfilial person," Jean Wenwen said. Wang Dongsheng's eyes turned red. The atmosphere in the room was extremely depressing. "Don't do this. Maybe there are other ways." Su Jing couldn't bear it. "It's no use for you to be anxious here. Dongsheng, why don't you go home and see how things are going?" Chen Junjie also said. The Liu family was very powerful. Even if each of them had some background, compared to the Liu family, they were all dwarfed by the Liu family. "Yes, why don't we go home with you first?" Su Jing calmed down and nodded. Li Changsheng said, "It's just the Liu family. I'll help you deal with it." "Okay," Wang Dongsheng nodded. However, He didn't take Li Changxing's words seriously. The Lu family was very powerful. Not to mention that Li Changxing didn't have much power. Even if he did, this was the Northwest. Distant water couldn't quench the immediate thirst. Chen Junjie and the others automatically ignored Li Changxing's words. They were also powerful in the local area, but they couldn't do anything in the face of the Lu family. Li Changxing wanted to help Wang Dongsheng. What a joke. Even Su Jing sighed. She had no doubt about Li Changxing's fighting ability, but how could he intervene in the business world? Chapter 285. The banquet ended on bad terms. Wang Dongsheng originally wanted to bring Jin Wenwen back to meet his parents, but he didn't expect that the comedy would turn into a tragedy. Let's go. You go home with me first, Wang Dongsheng said to Li Changsheng, Su Jing, and the others. As for Chen Junjie and the others, they didn't go with Wang Dongsheng, but went home to think of a solution. Ningxin and Shaoran were in the same car. That Miss Lu is so shameless. I can't believe there is such a shameless person in the world. And Shaoran said indignantly along the way. Ningxin just smiled bitterly. Even if the other party is shameless, so what? That's the Lu family we're talking about. Unless the Wang family is willing to give up all its wealth and risk bankruptcy to force Wang Dongsheng to marry Jin Wenwen. But that's obviously unrealistic. Sacrificing the entire family just to fulfill the happiness of the two people. Even if Uncle Wang's brain is cramped, I'm afraid Wang Dongsheng won't agree. That Li Changsheng even said that he would help settle it. I almost laughed out loud at that time, and Shaoran curled her lips. I don't understand why Su Jing cares so much about him. This guy thinks he can solve everything because he is good at martial arts, but he forgets that money is the most important thing in the world. Yes. Ningxi nodded. At this time, in the other car, Chen Junjie and Su Yang were also discussing. Dongsheng is really in trouble this time. That Miss Lu is really a green tea bitch. How could she do such a shameless thing? We must find a way to help him. Su Yang frowned. He had made several calls along the way, but the Lu family was so powerful that no one was willing to intervene. I have a relative who is very powerful in the Northwest. Maybe he can help us. Chen Junjie suddenly thought of something. Su Yang was pleasantly surprised. Really? Junjie, your family is so powerful. At that time, Li Changxing insisted on helping to solve the problem. It was ridiculous. Now, let Su Jing see that Li Changxing is just a piece of shit compared with you. Ha! Chen Junjie couldn't help but laugh. From the first time he saw Su Jing, he was mesmerized. When he thought that Su Jing was as gentle and caring to him as she was to Li Changsheng, his heart couldn't help but become excited. On the other side, Wang Dongsheng hailed a few taxis and rushed to his house. About 10 minutes later, they arrived at a villa area. After getting out of the car, everyone looked miserable. Don't worry. If there's anything, I'll help you solve it. You don't have to worry. Li Changxing comforted her again. Wang Dongsheng was a student. Li Changxing was happy to see him and Jin Wenwen together. Besides, that Miss Lu was too shameless. Li Changxing had no reason to stand by and watch. Thank you, coach. Wang Dongsheng smiled at Li Changxing. He could feel that Li Changsheng wanted to help him, but there were some things that he couldn't say. The Lu family was powerful. Their Wang family was a famous family in Suzhou, but they couldn't do anything about it. Li Changsheng was an outsider. What could Li Changxing help him? He could only take it as Li Changxing's comfort. Walking into the villa, a middle-aged man was walking back and forth. On the sofa next to him, a young man in his 30s had a cigarette in his mouth. Blue smoke filled the room. Obviously, the two of them had smoked a lot before Wang Dongsheng came back. Dongsheng, you're back. Wang Dongsheng's father saw Wang Dongsheng and forced a smile on his face. On the other side, the man sitting on the sofa also stood up. He was Wang Dongsheng's brother, Wang Dongxiu. Although Wang Dongsheng was full of worries, he still introduced Li Changsheng and the others to his brother and father. When he introduced Jin Wenwen, everyone had a strange look on their faces. As Wang Dongsheng's girlfriend, Jin Wenwen's status was a bit awkward. The Wang family can't marry Miss Lu. Otherwise, we'll lose all our face. More importantly, Miss Lu is pregnant with a bastard. Are we going to let her bastard take our surname? Wang Dongxing's brother, Wang Dongxiu, put out the cigarette in his hand and said bitterly, I know. The key now is how to make the Lu family give up this idea. You know, there are hundreds of people in the Wang family. We can't afford to offend the Lu family. We have to be responsible for them. Wang Dongxing's father, Wang Heng, sighed and said. At this time, the doorbell of Wang Dongxing's house suddenly rang. From the window, they could see 3 cars parked outside. It's Chun Junjie and the others. Didn't I ask them to go home? Wang Dongsheng was a bit confused and hurried to open the door. Soon, Chun Junjie and the others came in. Junjie Wang Dongsheng was about to ask when his shower-in, who was next to him, excitedly interrupted. Just now, when we were halfway there, Chun Junjie suddenly thought of one of his relatives. He called his relative just now, and his relative said that he was willing to help mediate the situation. Really? The gloomy atmosphere in the room was instantly diluted, especially Wang Dongxing's father, Wang Heng. He went up and grabbed Chun Junjie's hand. Junjie, tell us what's going on. Not only Wang Heng, but everyone's eyes were focused on Chun Junjie at this time. No one else could think of a solution when the Wang family was facing such a difficult situation. Only Chun Junjie could help the Wang family. In an instant, Chun Junjie's image in everyone's heart became bigger. Even Su Jing, who didn't have much of an impression of Chun Junjie, couldn't help but look at him in a different light. In that instant, Chun Junjie felt like he was the savior of the world, especially when he looked at Li Changsheng, who was beside him. Li Changsheng was so weak and dim, not even worth mentioning under his light. He should know the gap between us now. Chun Junjie thought as he cleared his throat and said, one of my relatives has business dealings with the Lu family. The head of the Lu family thinks highly of him. If he agrees to help, the Lu family will definitely give him face, but what? Wang Heng and the others, who were originally full of joy, heard this and became nervous again. But the daughter of the Lu family is unmarried and pregnant, but she has an engagement with Dongsheng first. Moreover, the Lu family is very powerful. It won't be easy for our relative to mediate. I'm afraid the Wang family will have to pay some compensation. How much does your relative want? Wang Heng asked. He was a businessman and naturally knew that there was no such thing as a free lunch. The other party wouldn't work for nothing. He wants 10% of the shares of the Wang family enterprise. This, Wang Heng's heart couldn't help but tighten. 10% of the shares was definitely not a small amount. Although he was the head of the Wang family, he only had 30% of the shares. But when he thought that if he didn't agree, the Wang family was likely to be bankrupted by the Lu family, 10% of the shares was worth it. So he gritted his teeth and said, okay, I agree. Okay, Uncle Wang, I'll call my relative and ask him to help. As he spoke, Chun Junjie took out his phone. Wang Dongsheng and Jin Wenwen both showed joy on their faces. The two had just fallen in love, had agreed to go back to Suzhou to meet the parents. The matter of the Lu family was like a bolt from the blue. Although the Wang family had to pay some price, at least the two of them would not be separated. Thanks to Junjie. After this matter is over, we must thank Junjie well. Wang Heng said, yes. Wang Dongsheng nodded hurriedly. Dongsheng, a friend like Junjie is really rare. You must cherish him. Wang Dongxiu, the eldest brother, also said. The others, such as Su Yang and Lin Kuan, also showed pride on their faces. They had grown up together with Wang Dongsheng. Now that Wang Dongsheng had many new friends, it turned out that the only ones who could help Wang Dongsheng were his childhood friends. And Sharon had already walked to Su Jing and said sweetly, Sister Su, did you see that? Junjie is really excellent. If you don't have a boyfriend, you can consider him. Su Jing couldn't help looking at Li Changsheng next to her. Li Changsheng left a deep impression on her. But after taking away the halo of a martial arts master, compared with Chun Junjie, he was indeed a little worse. But I really don't have any feelings for Chun Junjie. Su Jing thought silently in her heart. Li Changsheng saw all this and didn't say anything. Since Chun Junjia has such connections and can help the Wang family, although the Wang family will lose some money, it is obviously within the range of the Wang family. I really don't have to interfere, but this Lu family is really annoying. It seems that when I leave Suzhou, I will ask someone to teach them a lesson. Li Changsheng thought silently in his heart. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.